The Golden Dragon had been more than just a restaurant, it was my father's dream carved into reality, seasoned with 30 years of sacrifice and determination. Now I stood across the street, watching Victoria, my stepmother of barely 2 years, telling our longtime customers that she was the new owner. Her voice carried the same saccharine sweetness she'd used at Dad's funeral 3 months ago. I'm Michael Chen, 28, a sous chef at one of the city's top restaurants, or at least I was, until I received the news of Dad's decision to sell our family legacy. The Golden Dragon wasn't just any Chinese restaurant, it was the first authentic Sichuan restaurant in our part of the city, a place where Dad had transformed traditional recipes into works of art. It's all perfectly legal, Victoria had smiled, waving the papers at me yesterday. Your father signed everything over to me 2 weeks before his heart attack. He wanted someone with real business experience to modernize the place. I'd spent the last 24 hours in a daze, trying to understand how Dad could have done this. He'd always said the restaurant would be mine when I was ready, after I'd gained experience in other kitchens, learned from everyone, he'd told me, then come back and make the dragon even better. Now, watching Victoria chat with Mrs. Liu, who'd been coming every Sunday for 20 years, I felt my hands curl into fists. Something wasn't right. Dad had been sick those final weeks, yes, but his mind had been sharp as ever. We'd talked about my plans to return to the dragon, about the new fusion dishes I wanted to add to the menu while keeping his classics. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Michael? It's Ray. Ray Martinez, your dad's security guard. Ray had worked nights at the Dragon for as long as I could remember. He'd retired last year, but Dad had kept him on the payroll as a consultant, letting him train the new security staff. I need to show you something. Ray's voice was urgent. About the night your father supposedly signed those papers. Meet me at the Silver Cup Cafe in an hour. The Silver Cup was 2 blocks from the Dragon, a quiet spot where Dad used to take his business meetings. As I pushed open the door, the familiar scent of coffee and cinnamon brought back memories of sitting here as a kid, watching Dad negotiate with suppliers and plan expansions. Ray sat in a corner booth, a manila envelope on the table before him. He'd aged since I'd last seen him, his hair more gray than black now, but his eyes were still sharp behind his glasses. Your father installed new security cameras last year, he said without preamble. High-end stuff, with backup cloud storage. He gave me administrative access to help monitor the system. Look at this. He pulled out his tablet, queued up a video. The timestamp showed 11:47 p.m., 2 weeks before Dad's death. The camera angle showed Dad's office, where Victoria was sitting at his desk, alone. Watch, Ray said softly. On screen, Victoria opened Dad's laptop, inserted a USB drive. She worked for several minutes, then began printing documents. The next clip showed her practicing something on a piece of paper, Dad's signature. I realized with a jolt. There's more. Ray swiped to another video, dated the next night. This one showed Victoria leading Dad into his office. He was moving slowly, looking disoriented. Your father was on strong medication that week, remember? For his back pain. I remembered. Dad had thrown out his back helping move some heavy equipment in the kitchen. The doctors had prescribed something that made him drowsy. The video showed Victoria placing papers in front of Dad, guiding his hand. Even through the grainy footage, I could see that his eyes were unfocused. She waited until he was heavily medicated. Ray's voice was tight with anger. But that's not all. Look at this. He produced several sheets of paper from the envelope. These are the access logs for your father's computer. Someone logged in at 2 a.m. the night before, using his credentials. They accessed templates for sale documents, transfer papers. How did you get all this? Your father wasn't just my boss, Michael, he was my friend for 30 years. When he first got sick, he asked me to keep an eye on things. He was worried about Victoria, said she'd been asking a lot of questions about the restaurant's finances. I stared at the documents, my chef's hands trembling slightly. Why didn't you show this to the police? I tried. They said without proof that your father was incapacitated when he signed. It's just circumstantial. Victoria's lawyer claimed the videos only show her helping an elderly man with paperwork he'd requested. Ray leaned forward. But there's something they don't know about yet. He pulled out one final piece of paper. Your father had a second camera installed in that office, one that Victoria didn't know about. It recorded audio. My heart started racing. Where's that footage? Encrypted, on a secure server. Your father gave me the password, told me to use it only if something happened to him. I waited because, well, I needed to be sure you were ready for what it might reveal. I thought about Victoria standing in my father's restaurant, preparing to tear down 30 years of tradition to put up some trendy fusion spot. Dad's recipes, his legacy, everything he'd built, gone. I'm ready. Ray nodded slowly. There's something else you should know. I've been watching Victoria's movements since your father died. She's been meeting with developers, big ones, the kind that don't build restaurants, they build luxury condos. The pieces started falling into place. The Golden Dragon sat on prime real estate in a rapidly gentrifying neighborhood. Development companies had been trying to buy the block for years, but Dad had always refused to sell. How much time do we have? She's meeting with the demolition assessment team next week. Ray's expression hardened. But there's more going on here than just a property grab. Your father suspected something bigger. The night before his heart attack, he called me, said he'd discovered something about Victoria's past, about who she really was. He was going to confront her, but he never got the chance. Dad had collapsed in the restaurant's kitchen the next morning, dead before the ambulance arrived. Natural causes, the doctors had said, but now I wasn't so sure. My phone buzzed, a text from Victoria, meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m., time to discuss your severance package. I showed it to Ray, who smiled grimly, perfect timing, because there's something else in that encrypted footage she really doesn't want anyone to see. As Ray pulled up more files on his tablet, I felt a familiar sensation, the same focus that came over me in a busy kitchen during dinner rush. Dad had taught me that success in both cooking and life came down to timing, preparation, and the courage to act when the moment was right. Tell me everything, I said. Ray glanced at the clock. It's a long story, and some of it, well, let's just say your father wasn't the first restaurateur Victoria married, or the first one to die suddenly. The implications hit me like a blast from the dragon's most powerful wok burner. This wasn't just about saving Dad's restaurant anymore, this was about justice. As Ray began laying out the evidence he'd gathered, I thought about Dad's favorite saying, in cooking and in life, son, the truth is in the details. You just have to know where to look. I was about to discover just how right he'd been. Ray's revelation about Victoria's past kept me awake all night. In my apartment above Ming's noodle shop, I'd moved out of the family home after Victoria moved in. I spent hours reviewing the files he'd shared. Victoria Barnes wasn't even her real name. She'd been Victoria Chen, Victoria Wong, Victoria Liu, a chameleon changing identities as easily as Dad used to change seasonal menus. 3 previous marriages. 3 successful restaurants, 3 sudden deaths ruled as natural causes. Your father figured it out 2 days before he died, Ray explained when we met again early the next morning. He found old newspaper clippings in Victoria's things while looking for some insurance papers, started connecting the dots. The encrypted video footage from Dad's secret camera system was damning. It showed multiple late-night meetings in his office between Victoria and men in expensive suits, developers, lawyers, someone who looked suspiciously like a city planning official, but the most shocking clip was from the night before Dad's death. I know what you did to Thomas Lu's restaurant in Seattle, Dad's voice was clear in the audio, and Robert Wong's place in San Francisco. Did you think I wouldn't investigate the woman I married? Victoria's response was chillingly calm. Those were tragic accidents, James, just like what sometimes happens when elderly restaurant owners don't properly maintain their kitchen equipment. At 9 a.m. sharp, I walked into the Golden Dragon for my meeting with Victoria. The restaurant wouldn't open for lunch service for another 3 hours, but the kitchen staff was already prep cooking. The familiar sounds and smells, ginger and garlic hitting hot oil, the rhythmic chopping of vegetables, strengthened my resolve. Victoria sat at Dad's old desk, her designer suit a stark contrast to the traditional Chinese decor. Michael, good of you to come. I have the severance papers ready. Before we discuss that, I placed my laptop on the desk. There's something you should see. She smiled indulgently. If this is about your father's promises to leave you the restaurant, we both know verbal agreements don't hold up legally. This isn't about verbal agreements. I pulled up the first video file. This is about what really happened in Seattle 5 years ago, at the Golden Palace restaurant. The smile froze on her face. Thomas Lu's daughter never believed it was just a faulty gas line that killed her father. She hired a private investigator, but he couldn't prove anything. Still, he kept everything he found. I turned the laptop so she could see the screen. Ray tracked her down last night. She's very interested in reopening the investigation. Victoria's perfectly manicured fingers tightened on her pen. I don't know what you're talking about. No? How about Robert Wong's place in San Francisco? Another successful restaurant. Another convenient accident. And now the Golden Dragon. I let my voice trail off meaningfully. You're being ridiculous. But her voice had lost its smoothness. I have legal ownership of this restaurant. Your father signed. While heavily medicated, I interrupted. We have footage of that too. But what's really interesting is the audio from the night before Dad died, when you threatened him. She stood up so quickly her chair slammed into the wall. You're bluffing. There's no audio system in this office. Dad was thorough, especially after he found those newspaper clippings about your past. Or should I say, Victoria Chen's past? Or is it Wong? I forget which name you were using when you married Thomas Liu. A new voice spoke from the doorway. We've been wondering that ourselves. Detective Sarah Martinez, Ray's daughter, as it turned out, stepped into the office, accompanied by two uniformed officers. Behind them stood Ray, holding his tablet. Victoria Barnes, Detective Martinez continued. We have some questions about the deaths of Thomas Liu and Robert Wong, and about some interesting transfers from their restaurant accounts before they died. Victoria's face contorted. You have nothing, just circumstantial. We have the encrypted files from James Chen's secure server. Detective Martinez cut in, including audio of you threatening him the night before his death. We have evidence of you accessing his computer to forge documents, and we have the testimony of 3 kitchen staff members about how you insisted on checking the gas lines personally the morning Mr. Chen died. I felt my knees go weak. I hadn't known about that last part. The DA's office is very interested in the pattern, the detective continued. 3 successful restaurant owners, all married to the same woman under different names, all dead within 2 years of the marriage, all their properties sold to development companies within months of their deaths. Victoria's eyes darted around the room like a trapped animal's. Suddenly, she lunged for her bag. Gun, Ray shouted, but Detective Martinez was faster. In seconds, Victoria was face down on Dad's antique carpet, being handcuffed. Add attempted assault to the charges, Martinez said calmly, as her partner retrieved a small pistol from Victoria's designer handbag. The next few hours passed in a blur of police statements, evidence processing, and calls from the DA's office. By evening, Victoria was in custody, and I had temporary injunctions stopping any sale or demolition of the Golden Dragon. Your father had one more surprise, Ray told me as we sat in the empty restaurant that night. Check the bottom drawer of his desk. There's a false bottom. Inside, I found a sealed envelope with my name on it, and a USB drive. Dear Michael, Dad's letter began. If you're reading this, then either I'm gone, or I've finally gathered enough evidence to expose Victoria's true nature. I hope it's the latter, but given what I've discovered about her past, I have to be prepared. I never told you why I insisted you work in other kitchens before taking over the Dragon. Yes, I wanted you to learn and grow as a chef, but I also needed you safely away while I investigated the woman who seemed too perfect when she came into our lives. The USB drive contains everything I found: financial records, newspaper articles, private investigator reports. Most importantly, it has videos from every security camera in the restaurant, backed up to a secure server only Ray can access. Victoria thinks she's clever, but she doesn't understand that a good restaurant, like a good life, is built on trust and attention to detail. The Golden Dragon was never just about food. It was about creating a place where memories are made, where traditions are honored while embracing the future. You understand that better than anyone. You're ready now, son. Make it your own, but remember our roots. All my love, Dad. 3 months later, I stood in the Golden Dragon's kitchen, watching the dinner service in full swing. The place was packed. The media coverage of Victoria's arrest and the uncovering of her restaurant murder scheme had actually boosted business. The menu was new, a fusion of Dad's traditional recipes and my own innovations. The critics were calling it a successful blend of old and new, tradition and innovation. Dad would have loved it. Thomas Liu's daughter Janet had flown in from Seattle to testify against Victoria. She was sitting at Dad's favorite table now, sharing stories with Robert Wong's son Kevin about their father's restaurants. Your father was a smart man, Detective Martinez said, stopping by to pick up a takeout order. He knew something was wrong, so he left a trail of digital breadcrumbs. The DA says it's one of the strongest cases she's ever seen. The preliminary hearing had revealed the full scope of Victoria's operation. She'd worked with corrupt developers to identify successful restaurants in valuable locations. She'd charm the owners, always widowers or divorced men, marry them, then arrange accidents once they discovered her true nature. The properties would be sold to her developer partners at below-market rates, then demolished for luxury condos. But Dad had outplayed her. His hidden cameras, encrypted files, and careful documentation had exposed not just Victoria, but the entire criminal enterprise. The investigation had expanded to include city officials, developers, even some crooked health inspectors who'd helped cover up the accidents. Ray had refused any reward, but he'd accepted a position as the restaurant's head of security. "Your father was my best friend," he'd said simply. "Protecting his legacy is reward enough." We'd installed a small memorial wall near the entrance, photos of Dad, Thomas Liu, and Robert Wong. Their children had started a foundation to help family-owned restaurants protect themselves from fraudulent takeover schemes. The kitchen door swung open as one of our new servers rushed in. "Chef Mike, Table 12 wants to know if you'll make them your father's special mapo tofu. They say they've been coming here for 20 years. I smiled, reaching for the ingredients I'd prepped that morning, Dad's recipe, with just a few of my own touches. As I worked, I could almost hear his voice. "Remember, son, the secret ingredient isn't in the sauce, it's in the love you put into every dish." The Golden Dragon was more than just a restaurant now. It was a testament to a father's love, a son's determination, and the power of truth to emerge even when buried under layers of deception. As I placed the finished dish on the pass, I caught my reflection in the polished steel of the kitchen counter. For a moment, I thought I saw Dad standing behind me, nodding in approval. The security cameras caught that moment too, their digital eyes watching over the Golden Dragon just as Dad had intended, ensuring that his legacy of truth, tradition, and trust would continue to thrive. Outside, the evening crowds filled the streets of our changing neighborhood, but inside the Golden Dragon, some things remained constant: the sizzle of woks, the steam of dumplings, the laughter of families sharing meals, and the spirit of a man who knew that the best way to protect what you love is to leave behind the truth, preserved as carefully as his secret recipes. Victoria's trial would begin next month. Janet Liu and Kevin Wong would be there, along with me, Ray, and Detective Martinez. But tonight, I had a restaurant to run, recipes to perfect, and memories to honor. Dad had always said that running a restaurant was like telling a story, every dish, every customer, every moment adding to the narrative. Our story had taken an unexpected turn, but its heart remained the same: family, food, and the unshakable power of truth. As the kitchen hummed with activity around me, I picked up my favorite cleaver, Dad's old one, perfectly balanced and sharp as memory, and began preparing for the next chapter. The end.
I stood in my brother's marble-floored foyer, surrounded by moving boxes and the remnants of my marriage, when Micah's words hit me like a punch to the gut. "You can't stay here forever, Poppy. You need to figure out your own life now." My name is Poppy, and 2 months ago, I walked in on my husband of 12 years having sex with his secretary on our kitchen counter. The same counter where I'd left him breakfast that morning. "I thought you said I could stay as long as I needed," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. The echo of my words in the high-ceilinged entryway made me feel smaller somehow. Micah ran his hand through his salt and pepper hair, a gesture so reminiscent of our father it made my chest ache. "That was before your divorce was finalized. You're a single woman now, sis. What will people think?" I wanted to remind him that half the down payment for this mansion came from my savings, but I bit my tongue. When he'd been struggling to secure the loan last year, I'd helped without hesitation. That's what family does. "What people think," I repeated, disbelief coloring my voice. "Since when do you care about that?" His girlfriend Lexis appeared in the doorway, her dark eyes darting between us. "Micah, maybe we should—" "Not now, babe." He cut her off, then turned back to me. "Look, I'm trying to build something here. I've got clients coming over, business partners to impress. Having my divorced sister camping out in my guest room, it's not a good look." My phone buzzed. A text from Savannah. "Coffee? You sound like you need it." "I'll be out by the weekend," I said, my voice clipped. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door, catching Lexis's sympathetic glance as I passed. 20 minutes later, I sat across from Savannah at our favorite coffee shop, wrapping my hands around a steaming latte. He actually said that? About what people would think? Savannah's outrage was exactly what I needed. Yep, apparently being divorced is contagious. I tried to laugh, but it came out more like a sob. The same brother who cried on your shoulder when his first business went bankrupt? The one you helped with this house? Savannah's dark eyes flashed. What happened to him? I stirred my coffee, watching the foam swirl. Success happened. Money happened. Sometimes I think he's trying so hard to be someone important. He's forgotten who he is. My phone lit up with Charles's name. My ex, probably calling about the last of his stuff still in storage. I declined the call. "You know what the worst part is?" I said, pushing the phone away. When I caught Charles cheating, Micah was the first person I called. He showed up at my house at midnight, helped me pack, told me everything would be okay. I swallowed hard. He promised he'd always have my back. Savannah reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "What are you going to do?" "Find an apartment, I guess. Start over." The words tasted bitter. "And let him get away with this?" Savannah's eyebrows shot up. "After everything you've done for him? What choice do I have?" "You always have choices, Poppy. You're just too nice to see them sometimes." Back at Micah's house that evening, I found Lexus alone in the kitchen making dinner. She glanced over her shoulder as I entered. "I'm sorry about earlier," she said softly. "I tried talking to him, but it's not your fault." I opened the fridge, grabbing a water bottle. "He's changed, hasn't he?" Lexus put down her knife, turning to face me. "He's obsessed with this image he's trying to build. Sometimes I barely recognize him anymore." "Join the club," I muttered. "Poppy?" Micah's voice boomed from his home office. "Can you come here for a minute?" I shared a look with Lexus before heading down the hallway. Micah sat behind his massive desk, looking every bit the successful businessman in his tailored shirt and designer watch. The watch I'd helped him buy for his 40th birthday. "I've been thinking," he said, not looking up from his computer. "You should be out by Wednesday. I've got important clients coming for dinner Thursday, and we'll need the guest room for their driver." I stood there, staring at my brother. This stranger wearing my brother's face. And something inside me snapped. "Wednesday it is," I said quietly. "But Micah?" He finally looked up. "Be careful what you wish for." His expression flickered with uncertainty for just a moment, but I was already walking away, my mind racing. Savannah was right. I did have choices, and it was time I started making them. The next morning, I methodically packed my life into cardboard boxes while Savannah perched on my bed, scrolling through apartment listings on her phone. "This one's not bad," she said. 2-bedroom, decent neighborhood. "And twice what I can afford right now," I finished, carefully wrapping a photo frame. It was an old picture of Micah and me at our father's funeral, arms around each other, holding each other up. I slipped it into the box without looking at it again. "You know what kills me?" I said, taping the box shut. "I have $500,000 tied up in this house, and I'm the one looking for a cramped apartment." Savannah's head snapped up. "Wait, what?" I hadn't told anyone about the money. It had been a private arrangement between siblings, sealed with trust rather than proper documentation. When Micah was trying to buy this place, he was short on the down payment. I helped him out. "Please tell me you got that in writing." Savannah's voice was sharp. I started to shake my head, then stopped. "Actually?" I dove for my laptop bag, pulling out an old leather portfolio I'd inherited from Dad. Inside were various documents he'd left us. His will, some insurance papers, and... Here it is. My hands trembled as I unfolded the document. Dad always insisted we put everything in writing, even between family. Especially between family. Savannah snatched the paper, her eyes widening as she read. "This is a legal agreement for co-ownership of any property purchased using these funds. Poppy, this makes you a 50% owner of this house." I finished. Dad made us both sign it before he died. He said it was to protect us both. Your father was a smart man. Savannah was already pulling out her phone. "My cousin Marcus is a real estate lawyer. You need to talk to him, now." 2 hours later, I sat in Marcus's downtown office, watching him review the document. "This is solid," he said finally, looking up at me. "Your father had this properly drafted. The language is clear. Any property purchased using these funds would be jointly owned." "Did Micah use the money?" I pulled out my phone, showing him the bank transfer records. "Every penny went into this house." Marcus leaned back in his chair. Then congratulations, you own half of your brother's dream home. What do I do now? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. That depends, Marcus said, folding his hands on his desk. What do you want? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A text from Lexus. Can we meet? Alone? I met her at a small cafe 3 blocks from the house. She was already there, fidgeting with her coffee cup. I found something, she said as soon as I sat down. I was helping Micah organize his office, and I saw the original mortgage documents. Your name isn't on them. No, I said. It wouldn't be. The money was given as a gift, officially. But it wasn't a gift, was it? Lexus's eyes were intense. He's been talking about selling the house. He's got some potential buyers coming next month. My stomach dropped. Selling it? He says it's time to upgrade. There's a place in the hills he's had his eye on. She hesitated. Poppy, he's not planning to pay you back. I pulled out the document from my father and slid it across the table. Lexus read it, her face growing pale. Oh my God, she whispered. Does he know about this? He signed it, but I don't think he remembers. I took the paper back. Or maybe he doesn't think I remember. My phone buzzed again. Micah. Where are you? Need the guest room cleared today. Today? Lexus's eyes widened, but he said Wednesday. I stood up, suddenly energized. I need to make some calls. Thank you, Lexus, for everything. What are you going to do? I thought about Micah's smug face behind his expensive desk, about the way he'd dismissed me like I was nothing, about how he'd forgotten who we used to be to each other. I'm going to remind my brother about karma, I said, and about Dad's favorite saying, always get it in writing. Back in my car, I called Marcus. I want to file the paperwork, I said. All of it, today. Are you sure? This will change everything with your brother. I looked up at Micah's house, our house, gleaming in the afternoon sun. He already changed everything. I'm just making it official. As I hung up, another text from Micah appeared. Called a cleaning service for tomorrow. Need the room empty by tonight. I smiled, thinking about the stack of legal documents about to land on his desk. Don't worry, big brother, I muttered. I'm not going anywhere. The courier arrived at exactly 4:30 p.m. I watched from my car across the street as he rang the doorbell and handed Micah a thick envelope. Even from this distance, I could see my brother's confident posture stiffen as he read the return address. Marcus Reynolds, attorney at law. My phone rang. Savannah, are you actually sitting outside your own house right now? Technically, it's only half my house, I said, watching Micah disappear inside with the envelope. And yes, I am. You're crazy, she laughed. But I love it. Has he opened it yet? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with an incoming call. Micah. I should take this, I told Savannah. Wish me luck. I switched calls. Hello, brother. What the hell is this? His voice trembled with rage. Some kind of joke? The document's pretty clear, Micah. Dad made sure of that. I kept my voice steady. Remember when he made us both sign it? You said it was unnecessary because we'd always look out for each other. That was 10 years ago. You can't seriously what? Expect you to honor a legal agreement? Expect you to treat me like family? I watched the front door slam open as he stormed out, phone to his ear, scanning the street. I started my car. By the way, I won't be out by tonight. Or Wednesday. Or ever, actually. I think I'll stay in my half of the house. Your half? He spotted my car and started walking toward it. You're delusional. I'm calling my lawyer. Good idea. Have them look at the property records while you're at it. Marcus filed the paperwork this morning. I pulled away from the curb as Micah reached it, watching in my rearview mirror as he stood there, getting smaller and smaller. An hour later, I sat in Marcus's office again, this time with Lexus. He's furious, she said, wringing her hands. I've never seen him like this. He threw his phone across the room. Marcus spread out several documents on his desk. Let him be furious. The law is clear. The agreement is binding and the money trail is documented. Poppy owns 50% of that property. What happens now? I asked. Well, he can't sell without your consent. Can't take out additional loans against it either. And Marcus smiled slightly. He can't evict you. My phone lit up with a text from our mother, Caroline. Your brother just called me, screaming about some document your father left. What's going on? I hadn't spoken to Caroline in months. She'd sided with Charles during the divorce, saying I should have tried harder to make it work. I should call her, I said, standing up. Wait. Lexus grabbed my arm. There's something else you should know. Those buyers coming next month? They're not just buyers. Micah's been planning to turn the house into a corporate retreat center. He's got investors lined up and everything. Marcus's eyebrows shot up. Without disclosing co-ownership? That's fraud. He thought I'd never find out about the agreement, I said. Or that I'd be too nice to use it. My phone buzzed again. A text from Micah. My lawyer wants to meet. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Don't go alone, Marcus warned. In fact, don't go at all. Let me handle it. I thought about all the times I'd backed down, played nice, kept the peace. About Charles's smirking face when he'd told me I was too predictable. About Micah's dismissive wave when he'd told me to leave. No, I said. I want to be there. I want to see his face when he realizes what's happening. Poppy, Lexus started. It's not about revenge. I cut her off. It's about respect, about consequences, about family meaning something more than just a convenient arrangement. Marcus nodded slowly. I'll set up the meeting here. Neutral ground. That evening, I drove back to the house. Micah's car was gone, but lights blazed in every window. I used my key, my legal right now, and walked in. The cleaning service had been through. The guest room was spotless, sterile, empty. I set my bag down and pulled out the old photo of Micah and me at Dad's funeral. You were right, Dad, I whispered, running my finger along the frame. Always get it in writing. My phone buzzed one last time. Caroline. I'm coming into town. We need to talk. All of us. I placed the photo on the nightstand and sat on the bed. My bed now. Tomorrow would bring lawyers and arguments, family drama, and hard conversations. But tonight, in this room that my brother had tried to take from me, I finally felt something I hadn't felt since walking in on Charles and his secretary. I felt powerful. Marcus's office felt colder than usual as I sat across from Micah and his lawyer, a sharp-faced woman named Rita, who hadn't stopped scowling since she walked in. This is ridiculous, Micah said, tossing the agreement onto the conference table. It was a different time, a different situation. Poppy gave me that money as a gift. Actually, Marcus slid forward a stack of papers. Your sister never signed a gift declaration. The only document both parties signed was this co-ownership agreement. Rita leaned forward, adjusting her glasses. My client is prepared to offer a buyout. No. The word came out stronger than I'd expected. Be reasonable, Micah snapped. I'll give you your money back with interest. Like you were planning to do when you sold the house to those investors? I watched his face pale. Yeah, Lexus told me about your corporate retreat plans. Rita's scowl deepened. Miss, if you're attempting to blackmail... Blackmail? I laughed. I'm just stating facts. My brother tried to sell property he only half owns without disclosing that fact to investors. That's fraud, isn't it, Marcus? Marcus nodded slowly. It would be, yes. Quite serious, actually. The door opened and Caroline walked in, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was terrible. Mom? Micah stood up. What are you doing here? Sitting down with both my children and figuring out what the hell happened to them. She took a seat at the head of the table. When did you two stop being family and start being enemies? Ask her. Micah pointed at me. She's the one threatening legal action. After you tried to throw me out on the street, I shot back, After I helped you buy that house, after I supported you through everything. Enough. Caroline's voice cracked like a whip. Micah, is what your sister's saying true? Did you try to evict her? It's my house, he muttered. Half your house. Marcus corrected quietly. My phone buzzed. A text from Savannah. How's it going? Need backup? Before I could respond, Rita cleared her throat. Perhaps we could discuss a compromise. Joint ownership with clear terms about usage and eventual sale. No sale, I said firmly. I'm not selling my share. You can't just move in and... Actually, she can, Marcus interrupted. That's exactly what co-ownership means. Micah slumped in his chair. This is insane. I have plans for that property. Investments lined up. Should have thought about that before trying to kick me out, I said. Or before forgetting who helped you get that house in the first place. Caroline reached into her bag and pulled out an old envelope. I found this in your father's things. He left instructions to give it to you both if you ever ended up like this. She handed us each a letter. I opened mine with trembling fingers. Dad's familiar handwriting filled the page. If you're reading this, you've forgotten what matters most. Money comes and goes, but family is forever. The agreement I made you sign wasn't just about property. It was about trust, about having each other's backs. Don't let pride destroy what matters most. I looked up to see Micah staring at his own letter. His face softened for the first time today. I never wanted this, I said quietly. I just wanted my brother back. The room fell silent. Rita shuffled her papers uncomfortably while Marcus watched us carefully. The investors are coming next week, Micah finally said. I can't just cancel. Then don't. I leaned forward. Show them the property, but tell them the truth. That it's co-owned and any deals will need both owners' approval. And then what? Then we talk, like family, about what this house means to both of us. Caroline stood up. You're both coming to dinner tonight. No lawyers, no documents, just family trying to find their way back to each other. I have plans, Micah started. Cancel them. Caroline cut him off. Some things are more important than business, son. Your father knew that. It's time you remembered it too. As we filed out of Marcus's office, Lexis was waiting in the lobby. She took one look at Micah's face and wrapped her arms around him. Figure it out? She asked. Working on it. He mumbled into her shoulder. I watched them, remembering how Micah used to hug me like that when I was hurting. Somewhere under all his ambition and pride, that brother still existed. I just had to find him again. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Charles. Heard about the house situation. Karma's a bitch, isn't it? I deleted the message without responding. This wasn't about karma or revenge anymore. It was about something much more important. It was about finding our way home. Caroline's kitchen hadn't changed in 20 years. The same yellow curtains, the same worn wooden table where Micah and I had done our homework, fought over breakfast, and shared our dreams. You're both terrible cooks, Caroline said, stirring a pot of her famous pasta sauce. Just like your father. That man could burn water. Remember when he tried to make Christmas dinner? I smiled despite myself. The turkey was still frozen in the middle. We had Chinese takeout. Micah added softly. It was the first thing he'd said since we arrived. Caroline set 3 plates on the table. Eat, then we talk. The silence as we ate was heavy with unspoken words. Finally, Caroline put down her fork. Your father would be heartbroken to see you like this. Dad's not here, Micah said sharply. He's not here to see how hard I've worked, what I've built. What we built, I corrected. Together. Fine. Micah slammed his hand on the table, making the plates rattle. You helped with the house, but I'm the one who turned it into something valuable. I'm the one who made the connections, found the investors, while treating me like I was nothing. My voice cracked. I lost everything, Micah. My marriage, my home. You were all I had left, and you threw me away like I was garbage. I didn't... He stopped, running his hands through his hair. I was trying to protect my investment. Investment? Caroline's voice was ice. Is that what family is to you now? An investment? You don't understand. Micah stood up, pacing. These investors, they're not just anyone. They're powerful people. They can make or break careers. I needed everything to be perfect. And your divorced sister didn't fit that perfect image? I asked. No, yes, I don't know. He collapsed back into his chair. Everything was finally falling into place. The house, the business, Lexus. I couldn't risk anything going wrong. So you risked losing your sister instead? Caroline shook her head. There's something you both need to know about your father's last days. She disappeared into her bedroom and returned with a small box. Inside was a hospital bracelet and a handwritten note. The night before he died, Caroline said, your father made me promise something. He knew you two were different. Micah with his ambition, Poppy with her heart. He worried you'd drift apart, that money would come between you. That's why he made us sign the agreement, I realized. Yes, but it wasn't just about the money. He wanted to make sure you'd always need each other, that you couldn't succeed without working together. Micah picked up the note, reading it silently. His hands started shaking. What does it say? I asked. Tell them I'm sorry. Micah read aloud. Sorry I won't be there to keep them together, but remind them that they're stronger together than they ever were apart. The kitchen fell silent except for the soft ticking of the old clock above the stove. You know what's funny? I said finally. When Charles cheated on me, the first person I thought of wasn't him, or my friends, or even Mom. It was you, Micah, because you were always the one who protected me. Until I didn't. His voice was barely a whisper. The investors are coming next week, I said. Show me the plans. Help me understand your vision. Maybe we can find a way to make it work. Together. You'd do that? After everything? I'm not giving up my half of the house, I said firmly. But I'm not giving up on my brother either. Caroline stood up, gathering the plates. Your father also said something else that last night. He said his biggest regret wasn't dying. It was knowing he wouldn't see how amazing his children would become together. Micah's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then turned it off completely. The investors can wait. We have more important things to figure out. Like how you're going to make up for being such a terrible brother. I managed a small smile. Like how we're going to honor Dad's legacy, he corrected. Both of us. As we helped Caroline clean up, moving around the kitchen in the familiar dance of family, I felt something shift. The house wasn't just a property anymore. It was a bridge, a way back to each other. My phone lit up with a text from Lexus. How's it going? I looked at Micah, who was drying dishes and actually smiling for the first time in weeks, and typed back, We're finding our way home. A corporate wellness center? I stared at the blueprint spread across the dining room table. That's your big plan for our house? Not just wellness. Micah pointed to different areas of the layout. Think exclusive executive retreats, high-end meditation spaces, private therapy rooms. There's a huge market for stressed-out CEOs looking for luxury relaxation. Lexus set down 3 cups of coffee. Show her the projection numbers. Micah slid over a spreadsheet. My eyes widened at the figures. These are impressive. But, Micah prompted, reading my expression, but it's also our home. I traced the outline of what was currently my bedroom. Where would we live? We could convert the east wing into private quarters, Lexus suggested. Keep it separate from the business side. My phone buzzed. Savannah. How's the big meeting with the Golden Boy going? Later, I texted back, then looked up at Micah. The investors arrive tomorrow. What exactly are you going to tell them? The truth, he said, surprising me. That the property is co-owned and any decisions need both our approval. And if they walk? Then they walk. He ran his hand through his hair. Look, I've been thinking about what Mom said, about Dad's letter. Maybe I got too caught up in the business side of things. Lexus snorted. Maybe. Okay, definitely. He amended. But this could be good for both of us. We could build something together, like Dad wanted. The doorbell rang. Lexus went to answer it, returning with Caroline and... Charles? What the hell is he doing here? Micah stood up so fast his chair toppled backward. Charles held up his hands. I came to talk business. Get out. Micah and I said simultaneously. Hear him out, Caroline said. Please. I looked at my mother. You brought him here? He has information about your investors, she said. Information you need to hear. Charles stepped forward, his familiar cologne making my stomach turn. Those investors you're meeting tomorrow? They're not what they seem. What are you talking about? Micah demanded. They're corporate raiders, Charles said. They target family-owned properties, find legal loopholes to force sales. I've seen them do it before. How do you know this? I asked. Because they approached me first, he admitted. Wanted inside information about your situation, about the co-ownership agreement. Micah's face darkened. And you told them? No, Charles said quietly. Whatever happened between Poppy and me, I couldn't do that to her. To either of you. I sat down hard, my legs shaky. Why are you really here, Charles? Believe it or not, to make things right. At least a little. He pulled out a folder. Here's everything I have on them. Their previous deals, their tactics. Use it. Micah snatched the folder, flipping through it. His face grew progressively paler. They've done this 6 times in the last year, he said. Find family-owned properties, exploit internal conflicts. Like a brother and sister fighting over ownership. I finished. Lexus peered over Micah's shoulder at the documents. Look at the fine print in their standard contract. They could force a sale within 6 months. You need to cancel the meeting, Charles said. No, I stood up. We need to show them exactly who they're dealing with. Micah looked at me. What are you thinking? I'm thinking it's time to show them what happens when someone tries to come between family. Charles shifted uncomfortably. I should go. Thank you, I said, surprising myself. For warning us. He nodded once and left, Caroline following after a quick hug for each of us. So, Lexus said into the silence, what's the plan? I looked at the blueprints, then at my brother. Remember how we used to team up against the bullies in school? A slow smile spread across Micah's face. You want to play them at their own game? Better. I pulled out my phone. I want to call Marcus and Rita. Get them both here tonight. We're going to create an ironclad partnership agreement that those raiders can't touch. And then? Lexus asked. Then we show them what happens when they try to mess with the Bennett siblings. Micah reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Together? Together, I agreed. Just like Dad wanted. As Micah made the calls to our lawyers, I looked around at our house. Not his, not mine, but ours. Tomorrow, we'd face those investors as a united front. But tonight, we'd rebuild what mattered most. Our family. My phone lit up with a final text from Savannah. Need backup tomorrow? I smiled and replied, No, I've already got all the backup I need. The investors arrived in sleek black cars at exactly 10 a.m. 3 men and 1 woman, all wearing expressions that probably hadn't changed since their last hostile takeover. Welcome to our home, Micah and I said in unison, standing shoulder to shoulder in the foyer. The lead investor, Robert, raised an eyebrow. Our? Oh, didn't your research team mention? I smiled sweetly. I'm Micah's sister and co-owner. Shall we move to the conference room? They followed us into what used to be the formal dining room, now transformed into a meeting space. Marcus and Rita sat quietly at opposite ends of the table, a united front of legal representation. Before we begin, the female investor, Amanda, opened her briefcase. We have some preliminary paperwork. Actually, Micah interrupted, we have our own documentation to discuss first. He slid copies of a bound document across the table. Our partnership agreement. Robert barely glanced at it. We were under the impression this property was solely owned by Micah. Common mistake, I said. One that could have led to some unfortunate legal complications. Good thing we cleared that up early, right? The other two investors, who hadn't introduced themselves, exchanged glances. Perhaps, Amanda said smoothly, we should discuss our vision for this property. Of course. Micah stood up. But first, coffee? Lexus? Lexus entered with a tray of coffee and pastries, setting them down just as Caroline walked in. Oh, I'm sorry, she said, perfectly timed. I didn't realize you had a meeting. I just dropped by to discuss the family trust's interest in the property. Robert's jaw tightened. Family trust? Mom's our financial advisor, I explained, watching their faces fall. She helps manage our family's real estate portfolio, which is extensive, Caroline added, sitting down. Though this property holds special sentimental value. My late husband made sure of that. Marcus cleared his throat. Perhaps we should discuss the specific terms of your proposal? Amanda opened another folder. We're prepared to offer significantly above market value. Interesting, I cut in, because we had our own proposal in mind. I nodded to Micah. He clicked a remote, bringing up our wellness center plans on the wall screen. We're not looking to sell. We're looking for investors in this concept. Minority investors. With no controlling interest, Rita added helpfully. Robert's face reddened. This isn't what we discussed. No, Micah agreed. It's better. A guaranteed 15% return on investment with none of the legal complications of trying to force a sale through loopholes or family conflicts. Amanda's professional mask slipped. I don't know what you're implying. We're not implying anything, I said, sliding forward the folder Charles had provided. We're stating facts, like your company's interesting pattern of acquiring family properties through, let's call them aggressive tactics. The silent investors finally spoke up. This meeting is over. Is it? Caroline asked. Because I've already shared your company's history with my extensive network of family-owned businesses in the area. They found it fascinating. Robert stood up, straightening his tie. You clearly have no interest in a legitimate business deal. On the contrary, Micah said, we're offering you one. Just not the kind where you get to tear apart a family legacy. Your choice, I added. Legitimate investment opportunity or a very public exposure of your business practices. My friend Savannah is a business journalist, by the way. She's very interested in corporate ethics stories. The room fell silent except for the soft ticking of the grandfather clock in the corner. The one Dad had restored himself. Amanda closed her briefcase. We'll be in touch. No, I said firmly. You won't. They filed out, their expensive shoes clicking on the marble floor. As soon as the door closed, Lexus burst out laughing. Their faces, she gasped, when Caroline walked in. Marcus gathered his papers. I don't think they'll be bothering you again. But others might, Rita warned. You should be prepared. We are, Micah said, looking at me. We're stronger together, right? Caroline hugged us both. Your father would be so proud. After the lawyers left, Micah, Lexus, and I stood in the foyer looking around at our home, really seeing it for the first time in weeks. So, Lexus said, about that wellness center idea? It's actually not bad, I admitted, with some modifications. Like what? Micah asked. Like making sure it helps people who really need it, not just rich executives. Dad would have liked that. Micah nodded slowly. A family legacy worth building. My phone buzzed. Savannah. How'd it go with the corporate vultures? I looked at my brother, who was already sketching new ideas on a napkin, and typed back, they never stood a chance against the Bennett siblings. I can't believe you're making me do this, Micah grumbled, hauling another box from the moving truck. You lost the coin toss, I reminded him. Besides, it was your idea to convert this wing into the residential section. We were transforming the east wing of our house into a home for families going through difficult transitions. Divorce, job loss, medical crises. The wellness center would occupy the West Wing, helping fund the charitable side of our venture. "Where do you want these brochures?" Lexus called from the doorway. "Reception area." Micah and I answered simultaneously, then shared a laugh. My phone rang. "Charles." "Hey," I answered, stepping into the hallway. "Thanks again for that reference letter for our nonprofit status." "Least I could do," he said. "Listen, I'm moving to Seattle next month. Wanted you to hear it from me." "Good luck," I said, and meant it. The anger that had once burned so hot had cooled into something like indifference. "You too, Poppy. You deserve it." I hung up just as Caroline arrived with lunch for the moving crew. "The contractors finished the meditation garden," she announced. "Come see?" We followed her outside to what used to be Micah's prized putting green. Now it was a serene space with a small fountain, the sound of running water mixing with wind chimes. "Dad would have loved this," Micah said softly. "He does love it," Caroline corrected, pointing to a small bronze plaque near the fountain. "The Thomas Bennett Memorial Garden." I traced the letters with my finger, feeling the raised metal under my skin. "Speaking of Dad," Micah cleared his throat. "I found something in his old files." He pulled out a worn envelope. "It's his original business plan for this place, from 20 years ago." I took the papers, yellowed with age. The sketches were rough but unmistakable. A community center, a healing space, a place for people to rebuild their lives. "He never told us," I whispered, "because he wanted us to find our own way here," Caroline said. "Together." Savannah's car pulled up, trunk loaded with donated supplies. "Where's my favorite reformed jerk of a brother-in-law?" "Still reforming," Micah called back, grinning. The two had developed an unlikely friendship over the past weeks. "The local news wants to do a story on the center," Savannah said, unloading boxes. "Something about siblings turning family drama into community service. No press," Micah and I said together. "Still weird when they do that," Lex's stage whispered to Savannah. The rest of the day passed in a blur of activity. By sunset, we stood in the newly furnished common room, surrounded by the evidence of our shared vision. "First family moves in tomorrow," I said, straightening a picture frame. The old photo of Micah and me at Dad's funeral, now joined by a new one of us at the center's groundbreaking. "Are we ready?" Micah asked. "No," I smiled, "but we'll figure it out together." "Like everything else?" he teased. "Like everything else." Caroline appeared with a bottle of champagne and glasses. "A toast," she said, pouring. "To second chances." "To family," Lexus added. "To Dad," Micah said quietly. "To home," I finished. As we clinked glasses, I looked around at this space we'd created. Not just a house anymore, but a testament to what family could be, what broken things could become when pieced back together with love and understanding. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Marcus. "Nonprofit status approved. Congratulations." "It's official," I announced. "The Bennett Family Center is real." Micah wrapped an arm around my shoulders. "Remember when I tried to kick you out? Remember when I legally outmaneuvered you? Remember when you both stopped being idiots?" Lexus chimed in. We all laughed, the sound echoing through rooms that would soon be filled with other families finding their way back to each other. "You know what's funny?" I said. "When Charles cheated on me, I thought my life was over. But it was just beginning. When you showed up at my door that night," Micah added, "I thought I was doing you a favor. Turns out you were saving me from myself." Caroline raised her glass again. "To new beginnings." Outside, the fountain burbled in Dad's garden, wind chimes singing in the evening breeze. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new families, new chances to help others heal. But tonight, in this moment, everything was exactly as it should be. "We did good, sis," Micah said softly. I squeezed his hand. "We did good, bro." And in the growing darkness, our house, our home, glowed with warmth and possibility. A beacon of hope for others who needed to find their way back home.
The last thing I saw before everything went dark was my brother's terrified face, illuminated by oncoming headlights. Sometimes I wonder if that image was worth the price of admission to my new life. My name is Kira, and I used to be an artist. Used to be. That was before my brother Brent decided to drive us home from my gallery opening after downing half a bottle of whiskey. I knew he was drunk. I should have called an Uber, but he was my big brother, my protector, or so I thought. "Come on, Kiki, don't be such a buzzkill," he'd said, dangling his keys. "It's your big night. Let me drive my baby sister home." The crash happened so fast. Metal crunching, glass shattering, then darkness. I woke up in the hospital 3 days later. The doctors spoke in hushed tones about severe trauma to my optical nerve, permanent damage, complete loss of vision. My mother Ruby's perfume filled the room as she squeezed my hand. "How's Brent?" I asked, my throat raw. "He's okay, sweetheart, just a few scratches." Her voice cracked. "He feels terrible." "Where is he?" Silence. "He's meeting with the family lawyer," my father Christian finally answered. "We need to handle this, delicately." That's when I knew. Even before I heard them whispering in the hallway later that night, thinking I was asleep. "We can't let this destroy his future," my mother insisted. "He's up for partner at the firm. If this gets out, the family name would be ruined." My father agreed. "We'll handle the medical bills quietly. Kira will understand. She always does." I lay there in the dark, feeling the bandages around my eyes grow wet with tears. They were right about one thing. I did understand. I understood perfectly that in their eyes, I would always be second best to Brent. The next few months were a blur of rehabilitation and therapy, learning to navigate with a cane, reading Braille, adapting to a world without color or light. My parents hired the best specialists, paid for the finest care, anything to ease their guilt, I suppose. Brent visited exactly once. "I'm so sorry, Kiki," he mumbled, reeking of alcohol even then. "I'll make it up to you somehow." I smiled and told him it was okay. What else could I do? He was the golden child after all, the one who needed protecting. But something changed in me that day. As I sat there listening to him stumble through his apology, I made a promise to myself. I would never be anyone's victim again. Never be the one who understands while others walked all over me. Rose, my best friend since college, was the only one who truly got it. She visited every day, helping me learn to use screen readers and voice commands on my computer. "You're still you," she'd say fiercely. "Still brilliant, still capable. Don't let them make you feel less than." Jordan, our family attorney, started dropping by too. At first, I thought he was checking on me for my parents. But during one visit, he lowered his voice and said something that changed everything. "Your father's company. There's something you should know about the structure, about who really controls what." I leaned forward, suddenly alert. "Tell me more." That conversation planted the seed. While my family assumed I was focusing on adjusting to my new reality, I was learning, planning, preparing. They thought blindness would make me helpless. They were wrong. In the dark, other senses become sharper. You learn to hear what people aren't saying, to feel the currents of power and weakness. 6 years passed. I built my own business, learned to thrive in my world of shadows. My parents called occasionally, always careful to keep things surface level pleasant. Brent went on with his charmed life, making partner at his firm, burning through relationships and money with equal abandon. Then yesterday, my phone buzzed with an email from him. "Kiki, I need your help. Everything's falling apart. Can we talk?" I ran my fingers over my phone's screen as it read his message aloud, a smile spreading across my face. The moment I'd been waiting for had finally arrived. "Emma," I called to my assistant, "please tell my brother he's welcome to visit this weekend. And Emma, make sure to mention that I have some exciting news to share with him." I heard her typing the response, unaware of the wheels already turning in my head. My brother was about to learn what I'd discovered in the darkness, that karma might be blind, but she always collects her debts. "Ms. Kira, your 9 a.m. is here." Emma's voice came through the intercom. Even after 3 years as my assistant, she maintained that formal tone during business hours. "Send her in." I straightened in my chair, hearing the confident click of heels approaching. Looking sharp as always, Rose announced herself, making me laugh. Our inside joke never got old. How would you know? I could be wearing pajamas. Please, Emma would never let you leave the house in anything less than perfect condition. Rose settled into the chair across from my desk. So, Brent finally crawled out of his hole? I nodded, my fingers trailing over the raised dots on the document in front of me. He's coming this weekend. Apparently he's in some kind of trouble. Financial trouble. Jordan's voice joined us. I hadn't heard him enter. He'd learned to move quietly in deference to my enhanced hearing. Your brother's firm is hemorrhaging clients. 3 sexual harassment complaints in the last year alone. Shocking, Rose muttered, the golden boy's finally tarnishing. I remembered the day Jordan helped me set everything in motion. We'd sat in this same office, plotting how to acquire controlling shares in my father's company through a series of shell corporations and blind trusts. Your father never imagined you'd understand business, Jordan had said. That's his weakness. Now, 4 years later, I controlled 51% of Whitney Enterprises. My father still thought he was in charge, while Brent remained blissfully unaware that his trust fund was nearly depleted. Emma, I called out, can you bring in the latest quarterly reports? As Emma's heels clicked across the floor, Rose leaned forward. Are you really going through with this? Watch me, I smiled, knowing the irony of my words. The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings and phone calls. I'd built my own consulting firm from scratch, specializing in corporate restructuring. The irony wasn't lost on me, a blind woman helping others see their way through business challenges. That evening, as I sat in my penthouse apartment, my phone buzzed. Kiki? Brent's voice was strained. Just wanted to confirm for this weekend. Of course, big brother. Emma will send a car for you. I can drive myself. No. The word came out sharper than intended. You've done enough driving for both of us, don't you think? The silence stretched uncomfortably. Right. He finally mumbled. Sorry. After hanging up, I called Rose. Everything's set, she reported. The board meeting is scheduled for Monday morning. Jordan has all the paperwork ready. And my parents? Your mother's been calling everyone she knows, trying to secure a loan for Brent. Your father's still clueless about the company ownership. I walked to my window, feeling the evening sun on my face. My fingertips found the glass, cool and smooth. Somewhere out there, my family was about to learn that their perfect world was built on shifting sand. Ms. Kira? Emma's voice was gentle. Your dinner's ready, and I've laid out your outfit for tomorrow's meeting with the investors. Thank you, Emma. I turned from the window. Any messages from my mother? 3. She asked about having dinner next week. She also mentioned that your father's birthday is coming up. I smiled. Tell her I'm terribly busy. Send the usual gift to father, something expensive and impersonal. Later that night, as I lay in bed, my phone read out an email from Jordan. Final verification complete. All assets are in place. Operation is go for Monday. Are you sure about this? My fingers flew over the phone's screen. Absolutely. Time to show them that justice isn't the only thing that's blind. I thought about Brent, probably drinking himself to sleep in his overpriced apartment. About my mother, still making excuses for him after all these years. About my father, who chose family reputation over his daughter's justice. My phone buzzed again, Rose checking in. You okay? Never better, I replied, just thinking about how much can change in a weekend. Need me there when Brent arrives? No, this is something I need to do alone. I paused. But stay close to your phone. Always. And Kira, remember, you're not that scared girl in the hospital anymore. No, I wasn't. That girl died the night they chose Brent over justice. In her place rose someone stronger, someone who learned to see clearly in the dark. As I drifted off to sleep, I smiled, thinking of Brent's upcoming visit. He had no idea he was walking into a trap 6 years in the making. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold, it's served blind. The doorbell chimed at exactly 2 p.m. Emma's heels clicked across the floor to answer it, and I heard my brother's familiar shuffling gait. Kiki? His voice was smaller than I remembered. You look amazing. Wish I could say the same. I kept my tone light, gesturing toward the living room. Emma, please bring us some coffee. Brent's shoes, expensive Italian leather by the sound, scraped against my hardwood floors as he followed me. He smelled of stale cigarettes and desperate nights, a far cry from his usual designer cologne. "This place is incredible," he said, settling onto my sofa. "The view must be—" He caught himself. "I mean, the view is spectacular, or so I'm told. 42nd floor, floor-to-ceiling windows. I paid extra for it, actually." I smiled. Ironic, isn't it? Emma returned with the coffee, and I heard the gentle clink of china as she set it down. "Will there be anything else, Ms. Kira?" "That's all, Emma. Take the rest of the day off." Once we were alone, Brent cleared his throat. "Look, Kiki, about why I'm here. You need money." I sipped my coffee. "How much?" $3 million. He exhaled heavily. "The firm, there were some complaints, settlements, then clients started leaving. And the trust fund? Gone." His voice cracked. "Dad doesn't know yet. Mom's been trying to help, but—" I set down my cup, hearing it click perfectly into the saucer. "Remember when I was in the hospital? When you visited that one time?" "Kiki, please. You said you'd make it up to me somehow." I leaned forward. "Did you mean it?" "Of course I did. I've carried that guilt every day." "Guilt?" I laughed. "Is that what you call it? Drinking yourself stupid every night, harassing women at your firm, burning through Dad's money?" The sofa creaked as he shifted uncomfortably. "How do you know about—" "I know everything, Brent. Every settlement, every NDC, every penny you've squandered." I stood, walking to the window. "Did you know I own this entire building?" "What?" "The building, the consulting firm, 3 others like it across the country." I turned to face him. Turns out being blind makes people underestimate you. They never see you coming. His breathing had quickened. "Kiki, what are you saying?" "I'm saying I can help you, big brother. But first, we need to discuss Monday's board meeting." "What board meeting?" The door opened, and Jordan's measured footsteps entered the room. "The Whitney Enterprises quarterly board meeting," he said. "Hello, Brent." "Jordan, what are you doing here?" "Helping your sister prepare some documents." Papers rustled. "Documents that will determine the future of the company." Brent stood up so quickly his coffee cup clattered. "What the hell is going on?" "Sit down," I said quietly. "It's time you learned what I've been doing these past 6 years while you were busy destroying everything Dad built." Jordan laid out the papers, and I heard the scratch of his pen as he marked signing spots. "Your sister," he explained, "has acquired controlling interest in Whitney Enterprises through a series of perfectly legal transactions." "That's impossible," Brent whispered. "Dad would never—" "Dad doesn't know," I cut in. "Yet. He will on Monday when I announce the company's new direction, and your role in it." "My role?" "You have 2 choices, Brent. Sign these papers, agreeing to enter a rehabilitation program and accept a position under my direct supervision, or face the consequences of your actions at the firm. All of them." The silence stretched thin enough to snap. "You're blackmailing me?" His voice trembled with rage. "Your own brother? No, I'm offering you salvation, more than you ever offered me." He stood again, pacing. "Does Mom know about this?" "Mom's too busy trying to save you to see what's coming." I smiled. "Rather like old times, isn't it?" "I'll tell Dad." "You'll tell him what?" Jordan interjected. "That you've bankrupted yourself? That you're facing multiple harassment suits? That you need $3 million to stay out of legal trouble?" Brent's pacing stopped. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Defeated. "What do you want me to sign?" I gestured to Jordan, who slid the papers across the coffee table. As Brent's pen scratched against paper, I felt a flutter of something. Not quite satisfaction, not quite pity. "Welcome to your new life, big brother." I turned back to the window I couldn't see. "I hope you learned to navigate it better than I did." After they left, I called Rose. "It's done," I said. "Phase 1 complete." "How do you feel?" I thought about Brent's broken voice, about the years of darkness, about Monday's coming storm. "Ask me again after the board meeting." Monday morning arrived with the sharp tap of Emma's heels and the scent of premium coffee. "Your suit is laid out, Ms. Kira. Black Armani, red silk blouse. The car will be here in 40 minutes. "Any word from my parents?" "Your mother called twice. She's concerned about Brent's behavior since Saturday." I smiled, adjusting my watch. "I imagine she is." The boardroom at Whitney Enterprises hummed with whispered conversations as I entered. Jordan's steady hand guided me to my seat, not the visitor's chair they'd expected, but the head of the table. "What's the meaning of this?" My father's voice boomed from the doorway. "Kira, why are you sitting there?" "Good morning, Dad." I gestured to the seat on my right. "Please join us. Brent, you're on my left." "Now see here," Dad started, but Jordan cut him off. "Mr. Whitney, I suggest you sit down. Your daughter has some rather important information to share." The leather chair creaked as my father settled in. I could smell Mom's signature perfume as she hovered nearby, probably standing behind Dad's chair like always. "First," I began, "I'd like to introduce myself properly to the board. I'm Kira Whitney, majority shareholder of Whitney Enterprises, with 51% controlling interest." The room erupted in chaos. Above the noise, I heard my father's fist slam the table. "Impossible! I never sold—" "No, you didn't," Jordan interrupted, passing out documents. "But over the past 6 years, through various subsidiaries and strategic purchases, your daughter acquired controlling interest. All perfectly legal, I assure you." "You can't do this," Mom's voice quavered. "We're family." "Family?" I kept my voice level. "Like when you were family to me after the accident? When you chose to protect Brent instead of seeking justice?" "That was different," Brent began. "Quiet." The word cracked like a whip. "You signed away your right to protest on Saturday, remember?" More murmuring from the board members. I heard papers rustling as they reviewed the documents. "As my first act as majority shareholder," I continued, "I'm announcing several changes. First, a complete audit of all company finances, particularly focusing on certain personal expenses that have been charged to corporate accounts." Dad's sharp intake of breath told me he understood the implications. Second, a restructuring of senior management. "Dad, you'll be transitioning to an advisory role. Brent will be entering a rehabilitation program, after which he'll work under strict supervision in our community outreach division." "You can't demote me," Dad sputtered. "I built this company." "And I saved it," I countered. "The audit will show how Brent's legal troubles and your creative accounting have been bleeding us dry. Would you prefer I take this public?" Silence fell heavy in the room. "Jordan, please continue distributing the new organizational charts. You'll notice several positions have been eliminated or restructured." "Kira," Mom's voice was pleading now, "think about what you're doing to this family." "I have thought about it. For 6 years, 3 months, and 12 days. Ever since I lay in that hospital bed and heard you choose Brent over me." "That's not fair," Brent protested weakly. "Fair?" I turned toward his voice. "Was it fair when you got behind the wheel drunk? When you took my sight and faced zero consequences? When Mom and Dad protected you while I learned to live in darkness?" The boardroom remained silent except for the sound of shuffling papers and uncomfortable shifting in chairs. "The changes outlined in these documents take effect immediately," Jordan announced. "Any board member wishing to contest these changes is welcome to review our legal documentation or tender their resignation." "And if we refuse?" Dad's voice had lost its boom, sounding old and tired. "Then I'll take this company public," I said simply. "I'm sure the shareholders would be very interested in how their investments have been managed, not to mention the press." I stood, smoothing my skirt. "We'll reconvene tomorrow to begin the transition. Emma will send you all the details. Dad, Brent, Mom, I expect you to stay for a private discussion." As the board members filed out, I heard my mother's muffled sobs, my father's heavy breathing, Brent's restless shifting. "Well," I said once we were alone, "shall we discuss our new family dynamic?" "How long have you been planning this?" Dad asked, his voice hollow. "Since the day you chose to protect the family name instead of fighting for justice for your daughter." I smiled. Turns out darkness is an excellent teacher of patience. The silence that followed was deafening. My revenge was only beginning, but already I could taste its bittersweet victory. Sometimes the best way to make people see is to leave them in the dark. "I think we should have dinner," Mom announced, breaking the tense silence in the boardroom. "As a family, tonight." "Wonderful idea," I replied, my fingers trailing along the edge of the table. "My place, 7 o'clock. Emma will send the details." "Your place?" Dad's voice was gruff. "Why not the house? You remember the house, don't you?" "Oh, I remember everything about the house, Dad. The 23 steps up to my old bedroom, the sound of Brent stumbling in drunk at 3 a.m., the whispered conversations about how to handle my situation. Later that evening, the elevator opened to my penthouse. Emma had outdone herself. I could smell roasted lamb and fresh bread. "Your family has arrived," she murmured, helping me with my jacket. "Thank you, Emma. You can go home now." "Are you sure? I could stay." "I've got this." My family's footsteps echoed on the hardwood floors. Dad's heavy tread, Mom's nervous clicks, Brent's shuffling gait. "Dinner's ready," I announced, leading them to the dining room. "I hope everyone's hungry." "This is quite a place you have," Dad said, his chair scraping against the floor. "Yes, blindness has been surprisingly profitable." I smiled, lifting my wine glass. "To family reunions." No one joined my toast. "How can you be so cold?" Mom burst out. "We raised you better than this." "Did you?" I set down my glass. "Let's talk about how you raised me, about how quickly you switched from, 'we'll get through this together,' to 'we need to protect Brent's future.'" "We were trying to protect both of you," Dad insisted. "Really? Then why didn't we press charges? Why didn't we sue the bar that kept serving him drinks? Why did you let him walk away without consequences while I learned to read Braille?" Silverware clattered as Brent dropped his fork. "I said I was sorry." "Sorry?" I laughed. "Sorry is what you say when you step on someone's toe, not when you destroy their life and get away with it because Mommy and Daddy cleaned up your mess." "That's enough." Dad's fist hit the table. "You've made your point with this corporate takeover. What more do you want?" "What do I want?" I stood slowly. "I want you to feel what I felt. The helplessness, the betrayal, the darkness." "We never betrayed you," Mom whispered. "No? Then why did you refinance your house to pay Brent's legal settlements? Why did you empty your retirement account to cover his gambling debts? Why was it always him?" Silence fell, broken only by Mom's quiet sobs. "How do you know all this?" Dad asked. "I've had years to investigate, to follow the money, to uncover every secret you thought was safely buried." I turned toward Brent's breathing. "Did you tell them about the women at the firm, brother dear? About the NDAs? About what really happened to their money?" "Brent?" Mom's voice shook. "What is she talking about?" I can explain." "He can't explain," I cut in. "But the documents can. Jordan?" Right on cue, Jordan entered the dining room. "I have the files you requested, Kira." "Pass them around. I think it's time for some light reading." Papers rustled. Mom gasped. Dad's breathing grew heavy. "My God, Brent," he whispered. "What have you done?" "What you taught him to do," I answered. "Take what he wants and expect others to clean up his mess." "We never," Mom started. "Save it." I stood again. "Here's what's going to happen. Brent starts rehab tomorrow. Dad, you'll transition your duties to the new CEO next week. Mom, you'll stop enabling both of them." "Or what?" Dad's voice had lost all its authority. "Or I'll release everything. The accident report, the payoffs, the settlements, the embezzlement, everything." "You'd destroy your own family?" Mom asked. "You destroyed this family the night you chose him over justice." I moved to the window, feeling the cool glass under my fingers. "I'm just making it official." Chairs scraped as they stood. I heard Mom's stifled sobs, Dad's heavy sighs, Brent's unsteady steps. "Jordan will see you out," I said. "Oh, and Mom, don't bother calling tomorrow to guilt trip me. Emma has strict instructions about family calls." After they left, I poured another glass of wine. My phone buzzed. Rose. "How did it go?" "Exactly as expected. They're broken, but still in denial." "And how do you feel?" I thought about Mom's sobs, Dad's defeated voice, Brent's silence. "Ask me again when this is over." "And when will that be?" I smiled into the darkness. "When they finally see what I've seen all along, that sometimes the darkest truth is the one staring right at you." The rehab center's waiting room smelled of antiseptic and broken promises. I sat waiting for Brent's first family session, Rose beside me for support. "He's been here 2 weeks, the counselor said, settling into her chair. "I'm Dr. Sarah, and I must say, your brother has made some interesting revelations." The door opened, and I heard Brent's footsteps. steadier now, without the telltale shuffle of someone perpetually hungover. Kiki, he said softly. I didn't expect you to come. Sit down, Brent. Dr. Sarah says you have something to share. The chair creaked as he sat. I've been doing a lot of thinking about the accident, about everything after. Brent has been working on his accountability, Dr. Sarah explained. Would you like to share what you wrote, Brent? Papers rustled. Brent cleared his throat. I've been running away, he began, voice shaking. Not just from what I did to you, but from who I am. Every drink, every woman, every risky deal. It was all about escaping the guilt. Guilt? I kept my voice neutral. Or shame? Both. He paused. The night of the accident, I wasn't just drunk. I was angry. This was new. Rose's hand found mine, squeezing gently. Angry about what? Your success. Your gallery opening. Everyone talking about how talented you were, how bright your future was. His voice cracked. I was failing at the firm, taking money from Dad to cover my mistakes, and there you were, shining. So, you decided to dim my light? No, I didn't mean to. He broke off, and I heard him fighting for control. I wanted to drive you home, to prove I could still be your big brother, your protector. Instead, I destroyed everything. Not everything, I corrected. Just my sight, my art, my trust in family. Ms. Whitney, Dr. Sarah interjected, your brother has made significant progress in acknowledging his actions. Has he acknowledged telling Dad to bury the accident report, or Mom to pay off the witnesses? Silence fell heavy in the room. That wasn't his idea, a new voice said from the doorway. Dad, what are you doing here? I stood, angry at the intrusion. The center called, said it might help with Brent's recovery. His footsteps approached slowly. And they're right. It's time for the whole truth. Dad, don't, Brent started. No, son, enough. Dad's voice sounded ancient. It was my idea to cover it up, all of it. Your mother wanted to go to the police, but I couldn't bear to see my son in jail. So you let your daughter live in darkness instead? I convinced myself it was protecting both of you, that money and influence could fix anything. He laughed bitterly. Look how well that turned out. Rose's hand tightened on mine as Dad continued. Every time Brent got in trouble after that, I cleaned it up. Every mistake, every scandal. I threw money at the problem until it went away. But I couldn't fix what we did to you. We? My voice was ice. Me. What I did to you. By choosing him. By pretending it wasn't destroying our family. By watching you struggle alone while we protected him. I heard him step closer, smelled his familiar aftershave. The company takeover, he said quietly. You planned it all along, didn't you? Waited until we dug ourselves so deep we couldn't fight back? I learned from the best, Dad. You taught me all about power and control. Just not the lessons you intended. Kira? Brent's voice was barely a whisper. What happens now? I turned toward his voice. Now you get clean. You face your demons without Daddy's checkbook to chase them away. You learn what it means to live with consequences. And me? Dad asked. You'll do exactly what we discussed. Step down, watch everything you built transform into something new, something honest. And if we refuse, then I release everything, every document, every payoff, every crime you committed to protect your precious son. Dr. Sarah cleared her throat. Perhaps we should... No, I cut her off. They need to hear this. For 6 years, I've lived in darkness while they lived in denial. That ends now. I stood, unfolding my cane. Rose, we're leaving. Dad, the board expects your resignation letter tomorrow. Brent, stay here. Get better. Or don't. But understand this. Your actions have consequences now. As we walked out, Dad called after me. Kira, please, we're still family. I paused at the door. Family sees each other, Dad. All I see is darkness. Maybe now you'll understand how that feels. The door closed behind us, and Rose guided me toward the elevator. You okay? She asked. No, I answered honestly. But for the first time since the accident, I think I might be getting there. Your mother's here, Emma announced, her voice tense. She's refusing to leave until she speaks with you. I set down my coffee. 3 months had passed since the rehab center confrontation. Dad had resigned as promised, Brent was still in treatment. And Mom? Well, this was new. Send her in. The click of her heels was unsteady, not her usual confident stride. She smelled of white wine at 10 in the morning. Have you seen the news? She threw something onto my desk, presumably a newspaper. Your father's resignation is everywhere. Our friends are whispering, the country club. Seriously? I cut her off. That's what you're worried about? The country club? You've destroyed everything we built. No, Mom, I exposed everything you buried. I leaned back in my chair. How's the wine treating you this morning? She gasped. How dare you? I can smell it from here. Pinot Grigio, right? Your favorite breakfast companion? I didn't come here to be insulted. Why did you come here, Mom? To defend Dad's honor? To plead Brent's case? Or just to remind me what a terrible daughter I am? Her chair scraped back. I came to tell you that Brent's getting out of rehab next week. He's different now. He wants to make amends. Amends? I stood walking around my desk. Let me show you something. I moved to the wall where I knew my old paintings hung, the last ones I'd created before the accident. These are worth quite a bit now, I said, running my fingers along the frames I couldn't see. Tragic story adds value, apparently. The blind artist's final works. Kira, please. Did you know I still dream in color? That I wake up every morning hoping, just for a second, that I'll open my eyes and see light? My voice remained steady. But instead, I get darkness. And you know what else I get? The memory of my mother choosing to protect the person who put me here. We were trying to protect both of you. By teaching him actions don't have consequences? By showing me that family loyalty only flows one way? The door opened, Jordan's familiar footsteps. The board is ready, he announced. Board? Mom's voice sharpened. What board meeting? The one where we announce Brent's new position. I smiled. Assuming he passes the drug tests, of course. What position? Head of our new charitable foundation, focusing on drunk driving prevention and victim support. I moved back to my desk. Ironic, isn't it? You can't be serious. Oh, I am. He'll work directly under me, speaking at schools, sharing his story. Every day facing what he did, helping others avoid his mistakes. That's cruel. Cruel? I laughed. Cruel is leaving your daughter alone in darkness while you coddle her attacker. This is justice. Jordan cleared his throat. The board's waiting, Kira. Mom, you have two choices. Join us at the board meeting, support Brent's new role, and be part of the solution. Or leave, keep drinking, and watch from the sidelines as your perfect family facade crumbles completely. Her breathing hitched. You really hate us, don't you? No, Mom. I just stopped loving you more than I love myself. The boardroom fell silent as we entered. I took my place at the head of the table, feeling the weight of every gaze. Ladies and gentlemen, I began, today we announce the launch of the Whitney Foundation for Accident Prevention and Victim Support. Leading this initiative will be someone with first-hand experience of the devastation drunk driving causes, my brother Brent. The door opened again. Familiar, shuffling steps. Kiki? Brent's voice was clear, sober. I'm ready. Are you? Because once you start this, there's no going back. Every speech, every interview, every public appearance, you'll have to own what you did. I know. He paused. It's time I stepped into the light. Mom made a small, broken sound. Very well. I nodded to Jordan. Distribute the press releases. Brent, take your seat. Mom, are you staying? A long moment passed. Then, the sound of her chair pulling back. I'll stay, she whispered, for both my children. As Jordan began the presentation, I felt something shift in the room, and in myself. This wasn't just revenge anymore. It was reconstruction. Building something new from the wreckage of our past. But as I sat there, listening to the plans unfold, I wondered, in my quest for justice, had I become what I hated? Or had I finally found a way to turn darkness into light? The answer, I realized, would depend on what happened next. The auditorium buzzed with nervous energy as I sat in the front row, waiting for Brent's first public speech. 6 weeks of preparation had led to this moment. Ready? Rose whispered beside me. Before I could answer, Mom slipped into the seat on my other side. She smelled of coffee now, not wine. Small victories. The media's here, she said quietly. Your father's in the back. I nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. The foundation's launch had attracted more attention than expected. A prominent family's private scandal transformed into public redemption. Brent took the stage. I heard his footsteps, steadier than I'd ever known them to be. My name is Brent, he began, voice clear and strong, and I destroyed my sister's life. The room fell silent. 6 years ago, I got behind the wheel drunk. My sister, a talented artist, had just opened her first gallery show. I was jealous, angry, and stupid. One decision changed everything. I felt Mom tense beside me. For years, I hid behind money and privilege. My parents protected me, but my sister, his voice cracked. My sister lived in darkness, while I walked in light I didn't deserve. Rose squeezed my hand. Today that changes. This foundation isn't about redemption. I don't deserve that. It's about responsibility, about consequences, about turning damage into purpose. Suddenly, Dad's voice rang out from the back. This is wrong. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as he strode down the aisle. Dad, don't, Brent warned from the stage. No, let him speak, I said, standing. Come on, Dad. Tell everyone what's wrong about this. His footsteps stopped near me. This public confession, this spectacle, is exactly what should have happened 6 years ago, I finished. The truth, finally seeing daylight. I was trying to protect your reputation, I cut in, your legacy, your son, never me. The audience was silent, witnessing our family's raw wounds exposed. But you know what, Dad? I continued, turning to face the crowd. Your protection destroyed him more than jail ever could. Every time you buried his mistakes, you buried another piece of his humanity. Kaiki, Brent called from the stage. Can I tell them the rest? I nodded. When my sister took control of the company, I thought it was revenge, he said. But she did what our parents never could. She forced me to face myself, to see the truth in the darkness I gave her. Mom stood then, her voice shaking but clear. I enabled this. Every time I made excuses, every time I chose my son over justice for my daughter, I failed them both. The room was absolutely still. The Whitney Foundation, I announced, isn't about my blindness. It's about seeing clearly, about choices and consequences, about turning pain into purpose. Kira, Dad's voice was different now, broken, real. I was wrong, about everything. I know, I said simply. The question is, what are you going to do about it? He took a deep breath. I'd like to make a donation, not money. We both know you don't need that. But my time, my connections, my influence used for something right, for once. Brent spoke from the stage. Dad, are you saying? I'm saying I want to help, both of you, the right way this time. I felt tears threatening, the first real ones in years. You understand this means publicly acknowledging everything? No more hiding? Yes, he said firmly. It's time I learned from my daughter what real strength looks like. The audience erupted in applause, not the polite kind, but the raw, emotional kind that comes from witnessing something real. Later, as we gathered in my office, Rose brought out champagne. To the Whitney Foundation, she toasted. To consequences, Brent added. To truth, said Mom. To vision, Dad offered quietly. I raised my glass. To seeing clearly in the dark. As their glasses clinked around me, I felt something I hadn't expected. Not forgiveness exactly, but understanding. My revenge had transformed into something bigger than justice. It had become a bridge back to the light. You know, Brent said softly, you could have destroyed us all. Instead, you forced us to be better. Don't mistake this for mercy, I replied. This is justice, the kind that heals instead of hurts. And us? Mom asked. Our family? I thought about the long road ahead, the foundation work, the public scrutiny, the daily choice to turn darkness into purpose. We're not fixed, I said honestly, but maybe we're finally seeing each other clearly, and that's a start. The setting sun warmed my face through the office windows. I couldn't see its light, but I could feel its truth. Sometimes the deepest darkness shows us the way back to light, not through forgiveness, but through transformation. Not through forgetting, but through purpose. And sometimes, just sometimes, revenge can build something better than what it breaks.
The inheritance papers sat before me like a ticking bomb, Aunt Rosalind's manicured nail tapping impatiently on the mahogany desk. The grandfather clock in her study struck midnight, its chimes echoing through the hollow mansion that had become my prison since my parents' accident 3 months ago. "Brinley, darling, it's a simple formality," Rosalind cooed, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. "Just sign here, and we can put all this nasty business behind us. I'm Brinley, and at 24, I never imagined I'd be sitting here, being pressured to sign away my parents' legacy at midnight. The timing wasn't coincidental. Nothing about Aunt Rosalind ever was. It's late," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Can't this wait until morning? When Talon can review—" "Talon?" Rosalind's perfectly plucked eyebrows arched. "That old friend of your father's?" "Darling, he's not family. We are. And family takes care of its own." The way she emphasized "takes care" sent chills down my spine. Through the study's window, lightning illuminated the gardens where Mom used to tend her roses. Now they were withering, just like everything else she'd loved. "I just don't understand the rush," I pressed, fighting to keep my voice steady. "Dad always said important decisions shouldn't be made after dark." Rosalind's smile tightened. "Your father, God rest his soul, isn't here anymore. I am, and I'm trying to protect you, to protect all of us." A knock at the door made us both jump. Valeria, my cousin, poked her head in. "Mom, the caterers called about tomorrow's gala." "Not now," Rosalind snapped, then immediately softened. "Sorry, sweetie. Mummy's handling important business with Brinley." Valeria's eyes met mine, a flash of concern crossing her features before she retreated. We'd grown up together, but lately, something felt off about our relationship. Maybe it was the way Rosalind kept parading her around at social events, showing off her successful daughter while I was relegated to the shadows. "Look," Rosalind said, pulling out another document. "I've already arranged everything. The house will be sold, and the proceeds will be managed through my investment firm. You'll receive a monthly allowance." "Allowance?" I stood up so quickly my chair scraped against the hardwood floor. "I'm not a child, Aunt Rosalind. This is my inheritance, which you clearly aren't ready to manage." Her mask slipped for a moment, revealing something ugly underneath. "You're emotional, vulnerable, just like your mother always was." The mention of Mom sparked something in me. I remembered her last words to me. "Trust your instincts, Butterfly. They'll never lead you wrong." "I need time," I said firmly, gathering my courage. "And I want Talent to review these papers." Rosalind's face darkened. "You ungrateful little—" She caught herself, smoothing her designer blouse. "Fine, take them. But remember who's been housing you, feeding you, protecting you from the vultures who'd take advantage of a naive girl like yourself." I grabbed the papers and hurried out, my heart pounding. In the hallway, Valeria was waiting. "Bryn, are you okay?" she whispered, glancing nervously at the study door. "I'm fine," I lied, clutching the documents to my chest. "Just tired." "Mom's been acting strange lately," Valeria confided. "Ever since, the accident." The accident. The rainy night when my parents' car went off the bridge. The night that brought me here, under Rosalind's protective wing. "Yeah," I managed. "Strange." Back in my room, I spread the papers across my bed. Legal jargon swam before my eyes, but certain phrases jumped out. Transfer of assets, relinquishment of rights, immediate effect. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Don't sign anything. Meet me tomorrow, 10 a.m., Carter's Cafe. Talon." I deleted the message immediately, remembering Dad's warnings about being careful with sensitive information. Somewhere in this mansion, in this web of manipulation and deceit, there had to be answers. And I was going to find them. Lightning flashed again, illuminating the family photo on my nightstand, Mom, Dad, and me at the beach last summer. Their smiles seemed to hold secrets now, warnings I'd been too blind to see. "I won't let you down," I whispered to their frozen faces. "I promise." A distant roll of thunder answered, and somewhere in the mansion, I heard Rosalind's heels clicking on hardwood, plotting her next move. But for the first time since my parents' death, I felt something other than grief. I felt ready to fight back. Carter's Cafe buzzed with morning activity as I slipped into a corner booth, my hands wrapped around a steaming latte. The familiar scent of coffee and pastries transported me back to Sunday mornings with Dad, poring over legal briefs while he explained the intricacies of contract law. "Your father always said you had a sharp mind for details." A deep voice startled me from my memories. Talon stood there, his silver hair and kind eyes exactly as I remembered from my childhood. "It's been a while," I said, gesturing for him to sit. He placed his briefcase on the table, glancing around before speaking. "I came as soon as I heard about Rosalind's midnight paperwork party. You didn't sign anything, did you?" "No, but she's persistent." Talon pulled out a folder, his expression grim. "Your father knew something like this might happen. That's why he made me promise to watch over you if anything happened to him and Iris." My throat tightened at the mention of my parents. "What do you mean, knew this might happen?" 3 weeks before the accident, your father came to my office. He was worried about discrepancies he'd found in Rosalind's investment firm's records. Clients' money vanishing, properties being transferred under suspicious circumstances. The waitress approached and we fell silent until she left with our orders. "Dad never mentioned any of this," I said, leaning forward. "He was building a case." Quietly. Talon opened the folder, sliding several documents across the table. "These are copies of what he found. Bank statements, property deeds, client complaints that mysteriously disappeared." My hands trembled as I examined the papers. "Some of these properties, they're listed in the documents Rosalind wanted me to sign." "Exactly. She's trying to cover her tracks, using your inheritance as a smokescreen." Talon's voice hardened. "Your father was close to exposing everything when they had their accident," I finished, my coffee turning bitter in my mouth. The implications hit me like a physical blow. "Are you suggesting—" Talon held up his hand. "I'm not suggesting anything. But the timing is concerning." A familiar click of heels made us both freeze. Through the cafe's window, I spotted Valeria walking past, phone pressed to her ear. "We need to be careful," Talon warned, quickly gathering the documents. "Rosalind has eyes everywhere." "What about Valeria?" I asked. "She seems different from her mother." "Trust no one completely right now, but keep watching. Sometimes allies come from unexpected places." He handed me a small USB drive. "Everything's here. Copies of your father's findings, plus what I've gathered since. Keep it safe." "What do I do now?" "Act normal. Let Rosalind think she's winning. There's a family reunion next week, right?" I nodded. "Perfect. Keep your eyes open, but don't let on what you know. And Brinley?" His expression softened. "Your parents would be proud of you." Standing up to Rosalind took courage. As Talon left, I sat there, memories flooding back. Dad in his study, teaching me to read between the lines of contracts. Mom always saying, "The truth has a way of rising to the surface like cream in coffee." My phone buzzed. A text from Rosalind. "Dinner tonight, 7 p.m. sharp. We need to discuss your future." Another message followed. "Wear something nice. The Winters are joining us. Their son's been asking about you. Classic Rosalind, already plotting her next move. Trying to marry me off to some rich family's son, probably to strengthen her social connections." I grabbed my purse, the USB drive feeling like a burning coal inside. As I stepped out into the morning sun, a memory surfaced, Dad's voice clear as day. "Remember, Butterfly, in the legal world, timing is everything. Wait for the right moment, then strike. The right moment." I looked up at the towering building that housed Rosalind's investment firm, its glass windows gleaming like a fortress of secrets. Somewhere in there were answers about my parents' death, about the missing money, about everything. My phone buzzed again. "Valeria." "Can we talk? Alone? Something's not right with Mom." I stared at the message, remembering Talon's words about unexpected allies. After a moment, I replied, "Coffee tomorrow? Just us?" The response came instantly. "Yes, please." As I walked home, pieces started falling into place in my mind. The midnight papers, the missing money, the convenient accident. Rosalind had underestimated me, seeing only her dead sister's naive daughter. But I was also my father's daughter, and like him, I knew how to build a case. Game on, Aunt Rosalind. The annual family reunion transformed Rosalind's mansion into a buzzing hive of expensive perfumes and fake laughter. I stood in the corner of the grand ballroom, watching her work the crowd like a master conductor, Valeria trailing in her wake. And of course, we're so blessed to have Valeria following in my footsteps, Rosalind announced to a cluster of relatives. The youngest executive vice president in our firm's history. I sipped my champagne, noting how Valeria's smile didn't reach her eyes. Our coffee meeting yesterday had been enlightening, to say the least. "Did you know?" Aunt Margaret sidled up to me, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "About the Winters boy. I hear Rosalind's arranging—" "Brinley, darling," Rosalind's voice cut through the chatter. "Come here, sweetheart. Everyone's been asking about you." I plastered on my best smile and approached the group. Rosalind's arm snaked around my shoulders, her grip just tight enough to be threatening. "Poor dear," she cooed to the assembled relatives. "She's been so lost since Iris and James passed. Thank goodness she has family to lean on." "How generous of you to take her in," someone murmured. "Family first, always," Rosalind beamed. "In fact, we're finalizing some paperwork to ensure Brinley's future is secure." "Aren't we, dear?" Before I could respond, Valeria spoke up. "Mum, can I talk to you? About the Morrison account?" "Not now, sweetie." "It's urgent," Valeria insisted, catching my eye briefly. "The numbers aren't adding up." Rosalind's perfectly maintained facade cracked for a split second. "Excuse us," she said, steering Valeria away. I followed discreetly, positioning myself behind a massive floral arrangement near Rosalind's study door, which stood slightly ajar. "What do you mean, numbers aren't adding up?" Rosalind's voice had lost all its sweetness. "The offshore accounts," Valeria said. "The ones you said were for tax purposes. There's millions missing. You've been poking around in confidential files. I'm VP now, remember? I have access to everything." A sharp slap echoed through the crack in the door. My hand flew to my mouth. "Listen carefully," Rosalind hissed. "You will not mention this again, to anyone, understood? Mom, what have you done?" "What I had to do, to give you the life you deserve. And now that naive little Brinley's inheritance will secure our position." "What about Brinley's inheritance?" Uncle Xerxes' voice joined the conversation. My heart raced. Valeria's father rarely involved himself in business matters. "Nothing, darling." Rosalind's voice switched back to syrupy sweet. "Just some routine paperwork. The kind that needs signing at midnight." Valeria's voice was stronger now. "The kind that transfers everything to your control." Silence fell. I held my breath. "Rosalind," Xerxes said slowly, "what exactly have you been doing with our firm's money?" "Our firm?" Rosalind laughed coldly. "I built this empire while you played golf and attended charity galas. Everything I've done has been for this family's future." "By stealing from your dead sister's daughter," Valeria's voice cracked. Another slap. Then footsteps approaching the door. I barely managed to duck behind a curtain as Valeria burst out, tears streaming down her face. She ran straight past me, up the grand staircase. The party continued in the ballroom, oblivious to the drama unfolding. I was about to follow Valeria when I heard Rosalind's next words through the door. "If either of you breathes a word of this, remember, I have enough dirt to bury this entire family. Now let's rejoin our guests. Xerxes, fix your tie. We have appearances to maintain." I slipped away just as they emerged, my mind racing. The USB drive from Talon felt heavy in my clutch, combined with what Valeria had discovered. "Hey!" Valeria's voice made me jump. She stood at the top of the stairs, her cheek red but her eyes clear. "We need to talk, really talk." I glanced back at the party, where Rosalind was already commanding attention again, telling some elaborate story that had everyone laughing. "Your room," I suggested. Valeria nodded. "Bring your phone. We're going to need proof of everything." As we climbed the stairs together, I caught Uncle Xerxes watching us, his expression unreadable. He gave me a slight nod before turning back to his guests. The pieces were falling into place faster now, but the picture they formed was uglier than I'd imagined. Rosalind hadn't just stolen my inheritance, she'd built her entire empire on lies and theft. "Ready?" Valeria asked as we reached her room. I thought of Mum and Dad, of justice, of truth. "Ready." The time for playing nice was over. "Look at this," Valeria said, spreading printouts across her bedroom floor. "Every major client account has mysterious withdrawals, all traced back to shell companies in the Cayman Islands." I pulled out my laptop, inserting Talon's USB drive. "Your mum's been doing this for years. Dad was investigating her before the accident." Valeria's voice was hollow. "God, Brinley, you don't think she—" A knock at the door made us both freeze. "Girls," Uncle Xerxes called softly. We exchanged glances before Valeria opened the door. Xerxes slipped in, locking it behind him. "I've been blind," he said, his usually confident demeanor shattered. "So blind, but I found something you both need to see." He pulled out his phone, showing us an email chain. "Rosalind's been communicating with someone named Marcus about handling the situation 3 days before your parents' accident, Brinley." My hands shook as I read the messages. "The bridge where it wasn't their usual route home." "Mum told me they were coming to surprise me for my birthday," Valeria whispered. "She said she'd suggested that route because of construction on the main road." "There was no construction," Xerxes said grimly. "I checked." A text message lit up my phone. "Where are you? The Winters are asking for you. Come down now. Ah. She's trying to marry me off to secure another alliance," I explained to their questioning looks. "Classic Mom," Valeria scoffed. "She did the same thing to my last boyfriend when she discovered his family wasn't wealthy enough." "We need Talon," I decided, dialing his number. He answered on the first ring. "I've been expecting your call," he said. "I'm guessing you found more evidence." "More than we imagined. Can you meet us?" "My office, 1 hour. Bring everything." Xerxes stood up. "I'll create a distraction so you can slip out, but be careful. Your mother has eyes everywhere." "She's not my mother," Valeria said firmly. "Not anymore." We gathered the documents, storing digital copies in multiple secure locations. As we crept down the back stairs, we heard Xerxes' booming voice from the ballroom. "Ladies and gentlemen, a toast to my beautiful wife's success." The crowd cheered, giving us our opening. We were almost to the door when, going somewhere, Rosalind stood in the shadows, her eyes glittering dangerously. "Just getting some air," Valeria said smoothly. "The party's a bit overwhelming." "With all those documents?" Rosalind stepped closer. "Hand them over, now." "No." My voice was stronger than I felt. "Everything I've done has been for this family," Rosalind hissed. "You ungrateful little—" "Was killing my parents for the family too?" The words hung in the air like smoke. Rosalind's face went white. "You don't know what you're talking about," she whispered. "Marcus does," Valeria cut in. "Should we ask him about the bridge?" For the first time, I saw real fear in Rosalind's eyes. She lunged for the documents, but I was faster, shoving them into my bag and backing away. "You're making a mistake," she warned. "Both of you." "The only mistake was trusting you," I replied. Footsteps approached. The party guests were spilling into the hallway. Rosalind's mask slipped back into place as she turned to greet them. "Girls, there you are," she called out cheerfully. "Come, Mr. Winters was just asking about you, Brinley." We used the crowd's presence to slip away, rushing to my car. As we pulled out of the driveway, I saw Rosalind watching from the window, her phone pressed to her ear. "She's calling someone," Valeria said, checking her rearview mirror constantly. "We need to hurry." Traffic lights flew by as we raced to Talon's office. My phone buzzed repeatedly, messages from Rosalind, each more threatening than the last. "She's desperate," Valeria observed. She knows we have enough to destroy her. "Look out!" I shouted as a black SUV swerved toward us. Valeria jerked the wheel, barely avoiding collision. The SUV fell back, but stayed on our tail. "Call Talon," I said, gripping my seat. "Tell him we're being followed." Valeria made the call, while I watched the SUV weaving through traffic behind us. "He says to go straight to the police station instead. He'll meet us there with a detective he trusts." I thought of the USB drive, the documents, the emails about Marcus, about Mum and Dad's accident that was no accident at all. "Okay," I agreed. "It's time everyone knows the truth about Rosalind." The SUV was still following as we changed course for the police station. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from Xerxes. "Be safe. I'm handling things here. Get justice." Justice. The word felt like a promise. The fluorescent lights of the police station buzzed overhead as Detective Rivera studied the evidence spread across her desk. Talon stood beside me, while Valeria paced nervously. "This is extensive," Rivera said, examining the USB drive's contents on her computer. "Financial fraud, embezzlement, and now possible involvement in a homicide." "2 homicides," I corrected. "My parents." The detective's phone rang. "Rivera." Her expression darkened. "I see, keep me posted." She hung up, fixing us with a serious look. "That SUV that followed you, found abandoned 3 blocks from here, registered to a Marcus Thompson." "Marcus?" Valeria stopped pacing. "The same Marcus from the emails?" "Former police officer turned private investigator," Rivera explained. "Known for handling delicate matters for wealthy clients." My phone lit up. Xerxes calling. I put it on speaker. "Rosalind's gone ballistic," he reported. "She's in her study, shredding documents. I managed to photograph some before she started, sending them now." "Forward them directly to me," Rivera instructed, rattling off her email. A commotion outside the office drew our attention. Through the glass walls, we saw Rosalind striding toward us, flanked by 2 men in expensive suits. "Her lawyers," Talon muttered. Rivera stood. "Let me handle this." Rosalind burst in, her perfect composure cracking at the edges. "I demand to speak with my daughter and niece, alone." "That's not happening," Rivera said firmly. "Mrs. Fox, I'm Detective Rivera. We have some questions about your investment firm's activities. Whatever these confused children have told you." "Mum, stop." Valeria's voice cut through the tension. "I saw the accounts. I saw everything." "You saw what you were meant to see," Rosalind snapped. "Everything I did was legal." "Was having Marcus tamper with my parents' car legal?" I stepped forward, anger burning through my fear. "Was stealing my inheritance legal?" The lawyers exchanged worried glances. "Mrs. Fox," one began, "perhaps we should—" "Shut up." Rosalind's composure shattered completely. "You ungrateful little brats. I gave you everything. Status, opportunities, a future. You gave us lies," Valeria shot back. "You built your empire on fraud and murder." "Murder?" Rosalind laughed hysterically. "Prove it. Prove any of it." "Already done," Rivera interrupted, turning her computer screen. "Mr. Thompson is being very cooperative. Seems he doesn't fancy taking the fall alone." The color drained from Rosalind's face. "Marcus wouldn't—" "He already has," Rivera said. "We picked him up 20 minutes ago. Want to hear his statement?" One of the lawyers touched Rosalind's arm. "Don't say another word." But Rosalind was unraveling. "They were going to ruin everything," she shrieked, pointing at me. "Your father and his self-righteous investigation. They had to be stopped." The room fell silent. Even the lawyers stepped back. "Mrs. Fox," Rivera said quietly, "you have the right to remain silent. You think this ends here?" Rosalind's eyes were wild as officers approached with handcuffs. "I still have friends, powerful friends." "Not anymore," Xerxes appeared in the doorway. "The board has voted. You're out, Rosalind. The SEC has been notified." "You," she whispered. "You betrayed me too." "You betrayed yourself," he replied sadly. "And our daughter, and Brinley, and this entire family." As the officers led Rosalind away, her threats echoing down the hallway. I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. Valeria collapsed into a chair, tears streaming down her face. "What happens now?" she asked nobody in particular. "Now," Talon said, placing a hand on my shoulder, "we start setting things right. The firm, the accounts, Brinley's inheritance, everything." Rivera nodded. "We'll need statements from all of you. This case will take time to untangle completely. I want to help." Valeria stood up, wiping her eyes. "I know where Mom hid everything, every account, every shell company." "I'll handle the legal reconstruction," Talon added, "just like your father would have wanted, Brinley." My phone buzzed one last time. A text from an unknown number. "You'll regret this. R." I deleted it without a second thought. "Detective," I said, "there's something else you should know about the night of my parents' accident." As I began to speak, I felt Mom and Dad's presence stronger than ever. Finally, after all this time, the truth was coming to light. Xerxes wrapped an arm around Valeria, who was still shaking. "We'll get through this," he promised. "As a real family this time." Outside the police station, dawn was breaking. A new day, a new beginning, and finally, justice was within reach. 2 weeks after Rosalind's arrest, the mansion buzzed with a different kind of energy. The annual shareholders' meeting had been transformed into a reckoning. "Everyone's here," Valeria reported, peeking through the study door. "Board members, major investors, even the press." I straightened my blazer, Mom's blazer, the one she wore to important meetings. "Ready?" "Born ready," she smiled grimly. "Dad's keeping them occupied with drinks. Talon's got the presentation set up." We walked into the grand hall together, heads held high. Faces turned toward us, some curious, some hostile, some afraid. These people had trusted Rosalind with their money, their futures. "Ladies and gentlemen," Talon's voice commanded attention from the podium. "Please welcome Brinley, rightful heir to the firm, and Valeria, our acting CEO." Whispers rippled through the crowd as we took our places. A screen lowered behind us, ready for the presentation that would change everything. "Before we begin," I said, my voice steady, "I want to thank you all for coming. What you're about to learn isn't easy, but you deserve the truth." The lights dimmed. The first slide appeared, a photograph of my parents. 3 months ago, my parents died in what appeared to be a tragic accident. Today, we know different. Gasps filled the room as Marcus Thompson's signed confession appeared on screen. "The truth is," Valeria continued, "this firm has been built on fraud, manipulation, and—" She took a deep breath. "Murder." The next hour passed in a blur of revelations. Bank statements, offshore accounts, email trails. With each new piece of evidence, the audience's shock grew. "My God," someone muttered. "Our retirement funds." "Every cent will be accounted for," I assured them. "We've already begun the process of recovering." The doors burst open. Rosalind, out on bail, strode in. Her designer outfit couldn't hide her desperation. "This is illegal," she shouted. "A hostile takeover by children." "Security," Xerxes called, but Rosalind was already at the podium. "You think you know everything," she sneered. "Tell them, Brinley. Tell them how your parents really died. Tell them about the brake lines." The room fell silent. I stepped forward, my heart pounding, but my voice clear. "Yes, let's talk about the brake lines, Aunt Rosalind. Let's talk about how Marcus Thompson sabotaged them on your orders. Let's talk about how you directed my parents to take that specific route home." "Lies," she screamed, but her eyes darted nervously. "We have the proof," Valeria said, clicking to the next slide. Security footage appeared, showing Rosalind meeting Marcus in a parking garage 3 days before the accident. "That proves nothing." Rosalind turned to the crowd. "Everything I did was for this company, for our future." "Mrs. Fox," a board member stood up, "are you confessing to embezzlement?" "I'm confessing to having vision," she spat, "to building something great while the rest of you—" "That's enough." Detective Rivera emerged from the back of the room. "Mrs. Fox, you're in violation of your bail conditions by being here." 2 officers approached, But Rosalind wasn't finished. "You ungrateful little witch," she hissed at me. "Your mother was just the same, self-righteous, thinking she was better than everyone else. She deserved what she got." The room erupted in chaos. As the officers led Rosalind away, her final scream echoed, "I built this. It's mine." "No," I said quietly, though she was already gone. "It was never yours." Talon took the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm. We have a detailed recovery plan to present." The next hour was all business. Valeria outlined the restructuring. I explained the compensation process. Xerxes handled the legal questions. By the end, most of the shareholders were nodding in approval. "We can't undo what's been done," I concluded, "but we can move forward with honesty and integrity, the way my parents would have wanted." The applause was hesitant at first, then grew stronger. People approached with handshakes, condolences, support. "Your parents would be proud," an elderly board member said, squeezing my hand. "Both of you girls, taking on this mess, making it right." Later, as the crowd thinned, Valeria found me by the window. "Look what I found in Mum's desk," she said, holding out a photograph. Mum and Rosalind as teenagers, arms around each other, smiling. "What happened to her?" I wondered aloud. "Greed," Talon answered, joining us. "It corrupts everything it touches." "Not everything," Valeria said firmly. "Not us." Through the window, we watched Rosalind's car disappear into the night, police lights flashing behind it. "Ready for tomorrow?" Talon asked. "The trial won't be easy." I touched Mum's blazer, feeling stronger. "We're ready for anything." The truth was finally out, but this was just the beginning. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters as we made our way inside. Camera flashes exploded around us, voices calling out questions. "Miss Brinley, how does it feel facing your aunt in court?" "Valeria, any comment on your mother's mental state?" "Mr. Xerxes, will you testify against your wife?" Detective Rivera cleared a path through the chaos. Inside, the marble halls echoed with our footsteps as we approached courtroom 3. "Remember," Talon advised, adjusting his tie, "stick to the facts. Don't let her provoke you." The courtroom doors opened, and there she was. Rosalind, in a conservative navy suit, her hair perfectly styled despite 3 weeks in custody. She turned, her eyes meeting mine with a snake-like smile. "All rise," the bailiff called as Judge Martinez entered. The prosecution's opening statement was devastating. Bank records, witness testimonies. Marcus Thompson's full confession played on screens throughout the courtroom. The defendant didn't just steal money, the prosecutor said. She stole lives, James and Iris's lives, their daughter's future, her own daughter's trust. Rosalind's lawyer tried to paint her as a misunderstood businesswoman, a loving aunt who only wanted to protect her family's interests. Then it was my turn to testify. "Please state your name for the record." "Brinley," I said clearly into the microphone. "Can you tell us about the night of December 12th? I described the midnight meeting, the pressure to sign away my inheritance." From the defendant's table, Rosalind shook her head sadly, playing the concerned aunt. "And when did you first suspect your aunt's involvement in your parents' death?" "Objection," Rosalind's lawyer stood. "Speculation." "Overruled," Judge Martinez said. "Continue." I pulled out Mom's old diary. When I found this, my mother had been documenting discrepancies in the firm's accounts. The last entry was the day before she died. Rosalind's facade cracked slightly. The prosecution presented the diary as evidence. "Your Honor, note the final entry. Meeting R tomorrow. She needs to explain the missing Miller funds." Next came Marcus Thompson. He looked smaller in his orange jumpsuit, defeated. "Mrs. Fox contacted me 3 days before the accident," he testified. "Said she needed a problem handled permanently." "And what did that mean to you?" "She wanted James and Iris eliminated, said they were threatening everything she'd built." Rosalind exploded. "Liar! You acted alone." "Mrs. Fox," Judge Martinez warned, "control yourself." But Rosalind was standing now, pointing at me. You think you've won? You're nothing, just like your mother, weak, pathetic. Counselor, control your client. Mum, stop. Valeria's voice cut through the chaos. She stood, tears streaming down her face. Just stop. The courtroom fell silent. Tell the truth, Valeria pleaded. For once in your life, just tell the truth. Something in Rosalind's expression changed. She looked at her daughter, then at me, then at the photograph of my parents displayed on the evidence screen. The truth? She laughed bitterly. The truth is, your precious Aunt Iris was going to ruin everything. She found the discrepancies, threatened to go public. I couldn't let that happen. Her lawyer tried to stop her, but Rosalind shoved him away. Yes, I called Marcus. Yes, I had the brakes tampered with. And yes, she turned to me, eyes blazing. I watched them drive away that night, knowing they'd never make it home, because nobody threatens what's mine. Nobody. The courtroom erupted. Judge Martinez banged his gavel repeatedly. Rosalind's lawyer looked ready to faint. Order! Order in the court! Through the chaos, Rosalind and I locked eyes. For the first time, I saw her clearly. Not as my powerful, intimidating aunt, but as a desperate, broken woman who destroyed everything she claimed to love. Your Honor, the prosecutor stood. The state requests an immediate revocation of bail. Granted. Officers, take the defendant into custody. As they led Rosalind away, she called out one last time. I did it for you, Valeria. Everything was for you. Valeria turned away, burying her face in her father's shoulder. The judge called a recess, but we all knew it was over. Rosalind's confession had sealed her fate. Outside the courtroom, reporters swarmed again, but Detective Rivera and her team held them back. It's really over, I whispered. Talon squeezed my shoulder. Your parents got justice today. What happens now? Valeria asked, wiping her eyes. Now, I said, taking her hand, we rebuild. The right way. As we left the courthouse, the setting sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink. Somewhere, I felt Mom and Dad watching, finally at peace. The truth had won. Justice had prevailed. But the cost had been devastating for us all. The morning sun streamed through Mom's rose garden, now restored to its former glory. I knelt beside the blooming flowers, pulling weeds and adjusting the soaker hose, just as she'd taught me. The board meeting starts in an hour, Valeria called from the patio. Ready for the big announcement? I stood, brushing dirt from my knees. As ready as I'll ever be. The drive to the office was quiet, both of us lost in thought. The newspaper on the dashboard carried yesterday's headline, Fox Investment CEO sentenced to life. Below it, a smaller headline, Victim's daughter and niece lead company reformation. The conference room was packed when we arrived. Talon stood at the front, reviewing documents with the Xerxes. The faces watching us were no longer hostile or afraid, just expectant. Good morning, I began, taking my place at the podium. Today marks a new chapter for our company. The audit is complete, the restitution payments have begun, and we're ready to move forward. Valeria joined me, carrying a stack of folders. We've prepared detailed reports on our restructuring plan, but first, we have an announcement. I pulled out the new company logo, a simple rose design. From today, we're no longer Fox Investments. We're Chapman and Fox Partners, honoring both sides of our family's legacy, the good parts. Murmurs of approval rippled through the room. Our first act, Valeria continued, is establishing the James and Iris Chapman Memorial Fund for Financial Ethics. Every year, we'll sponsor students pursuing careers in financial oversight and fraud prevention. The board members nodded appreciatively. One raised his hand. And the leadership structure? Co-CEOs, I answered. Valeria and I will lead together, with our board's oversight. No more single person holding all the power. And I'll be stepping down, Xerxes added. It's time for fresh perspectives. As we outlined the details, I noticed Detective Rivera slip into the back of the room. She gave me a subtle nod. After the meeting, she pulled us aside. Thought you should know, Marcus Thompson was found dead in his cell this morning. Apparent suicide. He left a full confession detailing everything. Everything? Valeria's voice shook. Everything, including all of Rosalind's other victims over the years. We're reopening several cases. The weight of it all hit me again. How many lives had been destroyed by greed and power? There's something else, Rivera continued. We found this in Marcus's belongings. Thought you should have it. She handed me a sealed envelope. Inside was a photograph, Mum and Dad at their wedding, young and happy. On the back, in Mum's handwriting, love always finds its way home. They'd be proud of you both, Talon said softly, taking something broken and making it right. Later that evening, Valeria and I sat in Mum's garden, sharing a bottle of wine. I visited her yesterday, Valeria said quietly. Mum, in prison. I waited, letting her continue. She wanted to know if we'd change the company name back to Fox someday. I told her no. She cried. First time I've ever seen her really cry. Are you okay? She smiled sadly. Getting there. It's strange. I'm grieving someone who's still alive. I understand that feeling. A car pulled up. Xerxes, returning from his last board meeting. He joined us in the garden, loosening his tie. The roses look beautiful, he observed, just like Iris used to grow them. I had good teachers, I said, touching a velvet petal. Both of them. To new beginnings, Valeria raised her glass. And to remembering, I added. And to doing better, Xerxes finished. As the sun set, I thought about Mom's words on the photograph. Love does find its way home, sometimes through unexpected paths, through pain and truth and justice. My phone buzzed, a message from Talon. Your father's old clients are returning. They trust the Chapman name again. I showed the message to Valeria. She squeezed my hand. We did it. No, I corrected her. We're doing it. Every day, every decision, every client we help, we're choosing a different path than she did. A cool breeze carried the scent of roses, and somewhere in the gathering dusk, I felt Mom and Dad's presence. Not as ghosts of the past, but as guides for the future. The garden lights came on automatically, illuminating the path ahead. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new decisions, new opportunities to prove that integrity could triumph over greed. But tonight, in this moment, surrounded by family, both lost and found, I was finally home.
The first sign something was wrong came from Instagram. I was scrolling through my feed, double-tapping photos of perfectly plated dishes, when I saw it. Raylan's latest post, a familiar-looking dessert at Le Bernardin, topped with a distinctive chocolate work I'd recognize anywhere. The same dessert Harlan had claimed to eat alone at his business dinner 3 nights ago. I'm Zella, and as a food photographer and chef, I notice details others might miss. The way chocolate curls catch the light, the precise angle of a fork against bone china, the telltale signs of a shared dessert with 2 spoons carefully placed just so. My thumb hovered over the image. The timestamp matched. My stomach churned as I clicked through to Raylan's story, finding nothing but her usual carefully curated posts. But there it was, the edge of a man's watch in one frame. Harlan's watch, the one I'd given him for our 5th anniversary. Hey babe, I called out, keeping my voice steady. Did you run into Raylan at Le Bernardin the other night? Harlan looked up from his laptop, his pause a fraction too long. What? No, why would you think that? I watched his face, cataloging every micro-expression like I would the components of a complex dish. The slight twitch at the corner of his mouth, the way his eyes didn't quite meet mine. Just wondering, she posted about being there the same night as your dinner. Must have been a coincidence, he said, turning back to his screen. Big restaurant, lots of people. I nodded, already pulling up my phone's tracking app, the one we'd installed years ago, to share our locations, back when we actually cared about each other's safety. There it was. His location history, perfectly overlapping with Raylan's Instagram posts, not just at Le Bernardin, but at dozens of places over the past few months. I'm heading to the studio, I said, gathering my camera bag. Got that shoot for the new bistro on 7th. He barely looked up. Have fun. Instead of going to my studio, I drove to Rayalin's apartment building. My best friend of 15 years, the maid of honor at my wedding, the woman who'd held my hand through my father's funeral. Her car was parked in its usual spot, and right next to it, Harlan's BMW. I sat there for an hour, watching. When they emerged together, his hand on the small of her back, their quick kiss before parting ways, I didn't feel the explosion of rage I'd expected. Instead, a cold, calculated clarity washed over me. That evening, I prepared dinner as usual. Harlan came home late, claiming traffic was terrible. "How was your shoot?" he asked, loosening his tie. I plated his favorite pasta dish, the one I'd perfected during our honeymoon in Italy. "Actually, I've been thinking about hosting a dinner party. It's been ages since we've had everyone over." "Oh?" He took a bite, closing his eyes in appreciation. "What's the occasion?" "No occasion. Just missing our friends. I thought we could invite the usual crowd. Jonah, Marcus, and Kate." I twirled pasta around my fork. "Raylan, of course." He coughed slightly. "Sounds nice. When were you thinking?" "Next Saturday? I'll handle everything. You know how I love planning these things." "Sure, whatever you want." He smiled, reaching for his wine glass. I watched him drink, already mentally crafting the menu for what would be my most important dinner service yet. Each course would tell a story, our story. From the first bite to the last, I would serve them all a taste of their own betrayal. Later that night, I called my sister Elena. "You're being awfully calm about this," she said, after I told her everything. "What good would screaming do?" I stirred honey into my tea, watching it dissolve. "They think they're so clever, sneaking around, sharing desserts, playing their little game. Fine, let's play." "Zella, I'm not going to poison anyone, if that's what you're worried about." I laughed softly. "I'm just going to serve them exactly what they deserve. A perfectly planned, expertly executed dinner party where every single detail matters." And then what? I thought about the way Raylan had hugged me last week, complimenting my new haircut while wearing the perfume I'd bought her for Christmas. About how Harlan still kissed me goodbye each morning, tasting of lies and her lipstick. Then they'll learn what happens when you betray someone who knows how to turn a simple dinner into an unforgettable experience. I sipped my tea, already composing the guest list in my mind. You know what they say. Revenge is a dish best served in courses. Just be careful, Alina sighed. Don't let this consume you. Trust me, I said, opening my recipe journal to a fresh page. This will be my finest work yet. I began to write, each ingredient carefully chosen, each course designed to slowly, exquisitely unravel their carefully constructed deception. By the time I finished planning, the sun was rising, and I had crafted the perfect menu for their last supper as respected members of our social circle. You're going full Gone Girl on them, aren't you? Alina sat cross-legged on my kitchen counter, watching me sort through old photographs. Please, Amy Dunn was unhinged. I'm just being thorough. I held up a photo from 3 summers ago. Harlan, Raylan, and me at the Hamptons. Their body language was obvious now, the way they stood slightly too close, how his hand barely brushed her waist. Found anything interesting? I spread the photos across my marble countertop. Oh, plenty. Look at this one. I handed her a picture from Ray Lynn's birthday last year. See how they're the only ones not looking at the cake? They're looking at each other. God, they weren't even trying to hide it, were they? They thought they were clever. I pulled out my phone, showing her the guest list. What do you think about the seating arrangement? Alina scrolled through the names. Jonah next to Raylan. That's cruel. You know he had a thing for her. Has. And he's also the most observant person we know. He'll pick up on every little detail. My phone buzzed. A text from Ray Lynn. Can't wait for Saturday. Need me to bring anything? The audacity, Alina muttered, reading over my shoulder. I typed back, just yourself. Though maybe wear that blue dress you got last month. The one you wore to Le Bernardin. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, perfect. See you then. That'll keep her up tonight, I said, setting my phone down. Now, help me with these place cards. We spent the next hour writing names in elegant calligraphy, each card containing a hidden message, visible only under the right light. I'd learned the trick from a wedding photographer: invisible ink that appears when exposed to black light. What about this one? Alina held up a group photo from my wedding day. Raylan stood beside me in her maid of honor dress, her hand on Harlan's arm. 2 on the nose? Perfect for the slideshow. I took the photo, scanning it into my laptop. It'll play during dessert, right when the lights dim. The doorbell rang. Harlan wasn't due home for hours. Expecting someone? Alina asked. I checked the security camera feed on my phone. Jonah, right on time. I opened the door to find him holding a bottle of wine. You said you needed my help with something? Come in. I led him to the kitchen, where photos still covered every surface. I'm planning a dinner party. Jonah's eyes swept over the images, understanding dawning on his face. How long have you known? Long enough. I poured him a glass of wine. Question is, how long have you? He took a long sip before answering. I saw them at that new wine bar in Soho 2 months ago. They didn't see me. I've been trying to figure out how to tell you. Well, now you don't have to. I handed him an invitation. I need you there on Saturday. Can you handle that? Handle watching them squirm. He smiled grimly. With pleasure. But Zella, are you sure about this? It's going to burn every bridge. They lit the match first. I gathered the photos into neat piles. Besides, I'm not doing anything except serving dinner and showing some memories. If they react badly, that's on them. Alina cleared her throat. Show him the menu. I pulled out my recipe journal, flipping to the carefully planned courses. First, oysters with pomegranate mignonette. Harlan and Raylan's first secret dinner was at that oyster bar on 8th. Then the pasta they shared in Little Italy when they told me they were working late. Jonah leaned forward, reading. And the dessert. Le Bernardin's signature chocolate dish. I called in a favor from the pastry chef. He's recreating it exactly. You're not just exposing them, Jonah said slowly. You're making them relive every moment. While surrounded by all our closest friends. I closed the journal. They wanted to share meals behind my back. Fine, let's share everything. My phone buzzed again. Harlan, stuck at work, don't wait up. I showed the message to Alina and Jonah. Want to guess where he really is? Alina pulled up Instagram, scrolling through Raylan's stories. There it was, a check-in at a rooftop bar downtown. At least they're consistent, Jonah muttered. I started gathering the photos, tucking them into a folder. Saturday can't come soon enough. Need help with anything else? Jonah stood, straightening his jacket. Just be there, and Jonah. I caught his arm. Sit next to Raylan, make her comfortable, make her talk. He nodded, understanding perfectly. I'll make sure she has plenty to say. After they left, I stood in my kitchen, surrounded by the evidence of years of betrayal. My phone lit up with another text from Harlan. Missing you. Be home soon. I typed back, take your time. I'm busy planning our dinner party. It's going to be unforgettable. And it would be. They had no idea what was coming. But soon they'd taste every bitter bite of their betrayal. I opened my recipe journal again, refining each detail until every course was perfect. Like any good chef, I knew timing was everything. And on Saturday, the timing would be impeccable. The private dining room at Maison Rouge was perfect. Intimate lighting, dark wood panels, and most importantly, a state-of-the-art projection system disguised as vintage wall sconces. I stood in the center, visualizing how everything would unfold. The screen will lower here, I explained to Marcus, the restaurant's manager and an old culinary school friend. During dessert, right? Right after I dim the lights. He gestured to the control panel, and the photos will play automatically. On a loop. Trust me, they won't need to see them twice. I pulled out my tablet, showing him the seating arrangement. I need Harlan and Raylin to sit here and here. Perfect view of the screen, but too far apart to whisper to each other. The door opened, and Sophie, the head chef, walked in carrying a tasting plate. First course sample, as requested. I examined the oysters, arranged in a perfect circle, with pomegranate seeds scattered like drops of blood. These are exactly what I wanted, but can we add just a touch more mignonette? I want it to bite. Like your revenge? Sophie smirked. Girl, when you told me what they did, I wanted to add ghost peppers to their plates. Too obvious. I adjusted a pomegranate seed with my fork. This needs to be subtle, elegant, like a slow poison. Speaking of poison, Marcus said, your husband called earlier to confirm the reservation. Asked if he could bring a bottle of wine. I laughed. Let me guess, a 2015 Bordeaux? How did you know? It's Raylan's favorite. She probably suggested it, thinking she was being helpful. I took a bite of the oyster. Perfect. Now show me the main course. Sophie disappeared into the kitchen, returning with a plate of handmade pasta in a dark truffle sauce. This is the exact recipe from Giorgio's in Little Italy. Took some convincing, but the old man finally shared his secrets. I twirled the pasta, remembering how I'd found the receipt from Giorgio's in Harlan's jacket pocket months ago. They shared this dish every Wednesday night, claiming they were working late. Want to know something interesting? Sophie leaned in. They were here last week, ordered the same pasta. My hand tightened around the fork. Did they look happy? They looked guilty. Marcus cut in. Kept checking their phones, jumping every time the door opened. Good, they should be nervous. I pulled out my phone, showing them the dessert photo from Le Bernardin. Can you recreate this exactly? Sophie studied the image. The chocolate work will be tricky, but yes. Want me to add anything special? Just make it identical. I want them to recognize it immediately. I stood, walking to the wall where the screen would descend. When the dessert arrives, that's when the photos start. Years of their little rendezvous, all their secret moments, played out for everyone to see. Zella, Marcus touched my arm. Are you sure about this? It's going to be brutal. They made their choice. I straightened a place setting. Now they get to own it publicly. My phone buzzed. A text from Raylin. Hey love. Quick question about Saturday. Is it okay if I bring my camera? Would love to capture the evening. She wants to photograph her own downfall. I showed them the message. How poetic. Sophie shook her head. The nerve of some people. I typed back, of course, you know me. Always love having memories to look back on. You're scary good at this, Marcus observed. I learned from the best. I gestured around us. They taught me how to lie with a smile. The kitchen door swung open again, this time revealing a sample of the appetizers. Delicate canapes, topped with caviar and gold leaf. These will be passed around during cocktail hour, Sophie explained. Right before you seat them for dinner. I picked one up, admiring the presentation. Remember to serve the special ones to Harlan and Raylin. The ones with the extra spicy wasabi hidden inside. Don't worry, they'll be marked. Perfect. I checked my watch. I should go. Harlan's cooking dinner tonight, probably trying to ease his conscience. At the door, Marcus caught my arm. Just be prepared. This could get ugly. It already is ugly, I replied. I'm just bringing it into the light. Driving home, I got another text, this time from Jonah. Ran into R at the grocery store. She's wearing the guilt-like perfume. Almost felt sorry for her. Almost. I smiled, typing back. Save your sympathy. She'll need it Saturday. Harlan was in the kitchen when I arrived, stirring something that smelled like his attempt at risotto. Hey, beautiful, where have you been? Just finalizing details for Saturday. I kissed his cheek, tasting the lie in his casual smile. Everything's coming together perfectly. Can't wait, he said, adding too much wine to the risotto. It's been too long since we've had everyone together. I watched him cook, this man who thought he could serve me mediocre risotto and mediocre lies. You're right, it's time everyone was in the same room again. No more secrets. He stirred faster, the rice sticking to the bottom of the pan. No more secrets, he echoed, not meeting my eyes. I smiled, thinking of the menu waiting at Maison Rouge. Each course designed to strip away their pretenses, bite by bitter bite. It's going to be a night to remember. The cocktail hour began exactly as planned. Harlan arrived first, adjusting his tie nervously in the restaurant's mirrored entrance. I watched him through the security feed on my phone, standing in the private dining room. "He's here," Marcus announced unnecessarily. "And he brought the wine. Let me guess, 2 bottles? 3, actually. 2015, Bordeaux, just like you said." I smoothed my black dress, checking my reflection. Raylan's favorite. He's planning to get her drunk enough to relax. The door opened, and Jonah entered, looking sharp in a navy suit. "Ready for the show?" "Almost. Just waiting for our guest of honor." As if on cue, Raylan walked in, wearing the blue dress from Le Bernardin. She'd styled her hair differently, but the dress was unmistakable. I watched through the feed as she and Harlan carefully maintained their distance, their eyes meeting briefly before darting away. "Showtime," I whispered, stepping out into the bar area. "Zella," Raylan rushed forward, embracing me, her perfume, the one I'd given her, wrapped around us like a noose. "This place is gorgeous." "Isn't it?" I hugged her back, feeling the tension in her shoulders. "That dress looks even better than it did at Le Bernardin." She stiffened slightly, then forced a laugh. "Oh, you saw that post? I meant to tell you about that dinner. No secrets between friends, right?" I waved over a server with the canapes. "Try these. They're specially marked for you and Harlan." The wasabi hit them 3 bites in. Harlan coughed, reaching for his water, while Raylan's eyes watered dramatically. "Oh my God," she gasped. "That's intense." "Is it?" I took a regular one, biting into it delicately. "Tastes fine to me." More guests arrived. Couples we'd known for years, all part of our tight-knit social circle. I'd seated them strategically, ensuring maximum visibility for what was to come. "Shall we move to the dining room?" I gestured toward the double doors. "Everyone's place cards are set." Harlan found his seat, frowning when he realized how far he was from Raylan. She sat between Jonah and Kate, looking increasingly uncomfortable as Jonah engaged her in conversation. "Remember that night at the wine bar in Soho?" I heard him ask her quietly. "You looked stunning in that red dress." Raylan's hand shook as she reached for her water. I don't recall. Really, it was just 2 months ago. You were there with..." The first course arrived, interrupting their conversation. Oysters gleamed under the soft lighting, pomegranate seeds scattered like accusations across the plates. "These look familiar," Harlan commented, trying to sound casual. "They should," I replied, loud enough for everyone to hear. "They're from that little place on 8th Street. You know the one, right, Raylan? With the amazing happy hour?" She dropped her fork. "I've never been there." "No?" I pulled out my phone, scrolling through photos. "That's strange, because I have this picture." Before I could show it, servers appeared with the wine. Harlan's Bordeaux being poured into Raylan's glass first. "Your favorite, isn't it?" I asked innocently. 2015 was such a good year. "How did you know it was her favorite?" Kate asked, looking between us. "Oh, Harlan mentioned it," I said smoothly. "Didn't you, honey?" He took a large gulp of his wine. "Must have." Jonah leaned closer to Raylan. "Speaking of wine, that bar in Soho had an amazing selection. What was it you were drinking that night? Something Italian?" Raylan's napkin slipped from her lap. As she bent to retrieve it, a small envelope fell from beneath her place card. The first of many I'd hidden around the room. "What's this?" She opened it, color draining from her face as she read the note inside. "Lovely evening at Le Bernardin. The chocolate dessert looked divine, especially with 2 spoons." Her eyes met Harlan's across the table, panic flickering between them. I watched as she subtly shook her head at him, a silent warning. "Everything okay?" I asked, noting how neither had touched their oysters. "The pomegranate mignonette might be a bit strong. Like guilt, it tends to leave a bitter taste." The room had grown quieter, other guests picking up on the tension. Kate was looking between Harlan and Rylin with dawning comprehension, while her husband Marcus whispered something to Jonah. "Maybe we should have some music," Harlan suggested desperately. "Oh, don't worry," I smiled, nodding to Marcus at the control panel. "I have something special planned for later." Raylin's phone buzzed, another part of my plan. She checked it under the table, her face paling further at the message I'd scheduled. A photo of her and Harlan outside her apartment, his hand on the small of her back. "More wine," I offered, holding up the bottle she'd recommended to my husband months ago. "There's plenty to go around, just like friendship, right? Meant to be shared?" The oysters sat untouched, pomegranate seeds bleeding into the ice beneath them. The first course wasn't even over, and already their perfect facades were cracking. I caught Jonah's eye across the table, and he nodded slightly. Time for the next course. The pasta arrived steaming, the rich truffle aroma filling the room. Giorgio's signature dish, perfectly recreated down to the last detail. I watched as recognition flickered across both their faces. "This looks exactly like..." Raylan started, then caught herself. "Like what?" Kate asked, twirling her fork. "Nothing," Raylan mumbled, staring at her plate. "Oh, you mean like the pasta from Giorgio's," I offered helpfully. "The little place in Little Italy. They only serve this dish on Wednesday nights, I hear." Harlan's fork clattered against his plate. How did I what, darling?" I met his eyes steadily. "Know about your favorite Wednesday night spot?" The silence that followed was delicious. Around the table, our friends were starting to exchange glances, pieces falling into place. "Speaking of Wednesday nights," Jonah chimed in, right on cue. "Wasn't that your late meeting night, Harlan? The standing appointment with those clients from Boston?" Before Harlan could respond, servers appeared with fresh wine glasses. As they leaned between guests, they discreetly placed more envelopes beside certain plates. Raylan found hers first, a receipt from Giorgio's, dated 3 weeks ago, with her lipstick mark still visible on the napkin I'd retrieved from her purse during our last lunch date. "You know what's funny?" I continued, taking a deliberate bite of pasta. "I always wondered why you came home smelling like truffles after those client meetings." Kate picked up her envelope next, gasping softly as she read its contents. She passed it to her husband, who shook his head in disgust. "Zella," Harlan warned, his voice low. "What are you doing?" "Just sharing memories, honey. Isn't that what friends do?" I nodded to Marcus, who dimmed the light slightly. The wall behind Harlan and Raylin illuminated with a photo, them entering Giorgio's together, his hand on her waist. The timestamp showed 8:47 p.m. last Wednesday. "Oh my God," someone whispered. Raylin stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "I need some air." "But you haven't finished your pasta," I said sweetly. "It's your favorite, isn't it? The same dish you two shared every Wednesday while I worked late on my cookbook." "This is inappropriate," Harlan started, but Jonah cut him off. "You know what's inappropriate?" He pulled out his phone. "Meeting your best friend's wife at wine bars in Soho. Want to see the pictures I took that night?" "You knew." Raylan whirled on him, tears streaming down her face. "Everyone knew," Kate said quietly. "We just couldn't believe you'd do this to Zella." The pasta steamed between us, forgotten. On the wall, the photos continued, a silent documentary of their betrayal. Them leaving her apartment building, sharing dessert at Le Bernardin. Quick kisses in dark corners they thought no one could see. "When?" I asked, my voice carrying in the hushed room. "When did it start?" Neither answered. Their silence spoke volumes. "Was it that weekend in the Hamptons, 3 summers ago?" I gestured to the next photo appearing on the wall. "When you thought I was too busy with my camera to notice how close you stood." Harlan pushed his plate away. "This is childish, Zella. If you knew, you should have said something privately." "Privately?" I laughed, the sound sharp as a knife. "Like how you privately fucked my best friend. Like how you privately shared meals and wines and secrets while I trusted you both?" Raylin sank back into her chair, sobbing quietly now. Jonah didn't move to comfort her. I have to go, she choked out. But dessert hasn't been served yet, I said. It's a special recreation from Le Bernardin, your favorite chocolate dish, the one you shared 3 nights ago. More photos appeared on the wall, a progression of their relationship told through stolen moments and secret meetings. Our friends watched in horrified fascination. How long have you known? Harlan demanded. Long enough to collect every receipt, every photo, every little breadcrumb you two left behind. I took another bite of pasta. It's amazing what people notice when you're too busy gazing into each other's eyes to see them. I can explain, Raylin tried, but Kate cut her off. Save it. We've all seen enough. The pasta grew cold on their plates, untouched like their excuses. Around the table, years of friendship crumbled like parmesan. The main course will be served soon, I announced, as if this were any normal dinner party. I hope you saved room. It's another of your favorites, the salmon, from that place in Brooklyn where you celebrated your 6-month anniversary last month. Harlan's face went white. How could you possibly know about that? I smiled, raising my glass. Let's just say I'm not the only one who's good at keeping receipts. Right, Jonah? The lights dimmed further as servers cleared the pasta plates. In the semi-darkness, I could see Raylin and Harlan's world collapsing, one course at a time. And we weren't even at dessert yet. The salmon arrived under silver domes, each plate a perfect recreation of their secret anniversary dinner. As servers lifted the covers in unison, more envelopes fluttered onto the table. Hotel receipts this time, from their weekend business trips. You know what I find interesting? I swirled my wine, watching the color catch the light. How you both always ordered room service for 2. Stop this, Harlan pleaded, his facade finally cracking. Just stop. Why? Are you uncomfortable? Imagine how I felt finding these in your jacket pocket. I nodded to Marcus, who projected the hotel bills onto the wall. The champagne charges are particularly fascinating. Kate picked up one of the receipts. The plaza, on my birthday. You said you couldn't come to my party because you were sick, Raylin. I can explain, Raylin whispered, mascara streaking down her cheeks. Please do. Jonah leaned back, arms crossed. Explain how you've been sleeping with your best friend's husband. For how long exactly? The silence stretched like pulled taffy, bitter and dark. 18 months, I answered for them. Since that charity gala, where you both disappeared for an hour. Remember that night, Harlan? You came home with lipstick on your collar. The same shade Raylin's wearing right now. More photos appeared on the wall. Security camera stills from the hotel lobby. Date and timestamps clear as day. Their pathetic attempts at discretion, entering separately but always within minutes of each other. Jesus Christ, someone muttered. Did you think no one would notice? I cut into my salmon. Or did you just not care? Raylin's phone buzzed again. Another scheduled message. She didn't even check it this time, just sat there trembling. Check your phone, Ray, I insisted. It might be important. Like that text you sent Harlan last week about missing his touch. Her head snapped up. You hacked my phone? No need. You used my laptop to check your messages last month. Forgot to log out of your email. I smiled. Amateur mistake. The salmon sat untouched on their plates, just like their guilt sat heavy in the air. I trusted you, I continued, my voice steady. Both of you. You were my maid of honor, Raylin. You stood next to me and watched me marry him. Was that when it started? Were you already fucking my husband when you helped me pick out my wedding dress? No, she burst out. It wasn't. We never meant. To get caught? Jonah finished. Because that's the only thing you're really sorry about, isn't it? Harlan stood suddenly, his chair scraping back. This is enough. We're leaving. Sit down, I commanded. And to my satisfaction, he did. We haven't even gotten to the best part yet. More photos appeared, a timeline of their betrayal, them leaving work events early together, secret meetings in coffee shops, quick kisses in parking lots. I have to admit, I continued, you were thorough. Separate credit cards for hotel rooms, different restaurants each week. But you forgot one thing. What's that? Harlan asked, his voice hoarse. I'm a food photographer. I notice details, like how you always ordered the same wine, always split dessert, always sat in dark corners, thinking no one could see you. I gestured to the wall of evidence behind them. But someone always sees. Kate stood up, throwing her napkin down. I can't be here for this. Marcus, her husband nodded, standing with her. We'll send you the gift we were going to bring to your anniversary party next month, Harlan. Though I guess that's canceled now. One by one, other guests began to leave. Each exit, another nail in their social coffin. Wait, Raylan called out desperately. Please, let me explain. Explain what? Kate turned back. How you betrayed someone who loved you. How you smiled in our faces while sleeping with her husband. Save your explanations for your therapist. Soon only Jonah remained with us, watching as Harlan and Raylan sat in stunned silence. You know what the worst part is? I said, finally pushing my plate away. I'm not even angry anymore. I'm just disappointed in how predictable you both are. The cheap hotel rooms, the secret texts, the lies about working late. If you knew, Harlan started, why didn't you just confront us? And miss this dinner, please. I stood, smoothing my dress. Besides, I wanted everyone to see exactly who you are. No more hiding in dark corners. Raylan's phone buzzed one final time. She checked it mechanically, then dropped it like it burned her. What is it? Jonah asked. Screenshots, she whispered, of every message we ever sent each other. I took the liberty of forwarding them to everyone in our contact lists, I announced. They should be receiving them right about now. Their phones began lighting up with notifications, messages from friends, family, colleagues, their carefully constructed world of lies crumbling with each incoming text. Dessert will be served in 5 minutes, I said pleasantly. I hope you saved room. It's a very special recreation from Le Bernardin. The chocolate dessert arrived under spotlights, identical to the one they'd shared at Le Bernardin. The delicate chocolate work caught the light, casting shadows across their stricken faces. Look familiar? I asked, as servers placed the plates before them. The pastry chef was very helpful when I showed him your Instagram post, Raylan. He remembered you two specifically, said you seemed very intimate. Harlan pushed his plate away. I can't do this anymore. But it's your favorite, I insisted. You loved it so much, you went back 3 times last month. Always on Tuesday afternoons. Always when I had my cooking classes. Raylan's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. She finally turned it off, hands shaking. My mother just texted, she whispered. She saw the messages. Oh right, I took a delicate bite of chocolate. I made sure to include your parents in the distribution list. And your boss. He seemed particularly interested in all those sick days you took together. Jonah leaned forward. You know what I don't understand? Why keep coming to group events? Why risk being seen? Because they thought they were smarter than everyone else, I answered for them. They thought their little codes and signals were clever, like how Raylan would always wear red when she wanted to meet up. Harlan's head snapped up. How did you know about that? The same way I knew about the hotel room numbers you'd text her disguised as work addresses, or the way you'd schedule fake client meetings in your shared calendar. The chocolate on their plates began to melt, much like their composure. I have to call my lawyer. Harlan reached for his phone. Already taken care of, I smiled. I sent him quite a comprehensive file this morning. He's dropping you as a client, by the way. Something about moral clauses. Raylan started sobbing again. My job, my reputation. Should have thought about that before sleeping with your best friend's husband. Jonah's voice was ice cold. What did you think would happen? The lights dimmed further, and the projector whirred to life one final time. But instead of photos, a video began playing. Security footage from their various meetups, expertly edited together like a tragic romance movie. I had help from the IT guy at your office, Harlan, I explained. Turns out, he doesn't approve of affairs either, especially since his wife left him for her boss last year. The video showed them entering and leaving hotels, sharing intimate moments in parking lots, all time-stamped and crystal clear. Turn it off, Harlan begged. Why? This is your story. Don't you want to see how it ends? The final clip was from 3 days ago, them arguing outside Raylan's apartment. The audio was clear enough to hear their fight about whether to tell me. You said you were going to leave her. Raylan's voice echoed through the speakers. You promised. I never promised that, Video Harlan replied. I can't. It's complicated. Present-day Raylan stood up so quickly, her chair fell backward. You told me you loved me. He tells that to all his mistresses, I said quietly. Ask his secretary from 2 years ago. Or should I play that footage next? Harlan's face went from red to white. There's no other footage? Of course there is. I've spent months collecting everything. Every lie, every betrayal, every single time you thought you were being careful. I gestured to the screen. This is just the highlight reel. I'll lose everything, Raylan whispered. Funny how consequences work, isn't it? Harlan stood, finally finding his voice. You've made your point, Zella. What do you want? Money? The house? I don't want anything from you, I replied calmly. I just wanted everyone to see the truth. No more secrets, remember. The chocolate desserts sat melting. Forgotten symbols of their deceit. On the screen, their past indiscretions played on loop, a monument to their betrayal. My sister's waiting outside, I continued. She'll drive you both home, separately, of course, though I doubt either of you has a home to go to after tonight. Jonah stood straightening his jacket. I'll walk them out, make sure they don't try to spin this into something it's not. As they walked toward the door, broken and exposed, I called out one last time. Oh, and Harlan. The divorce papers are being delivered tomorrow. I took the liberty of copying our entire prenup to the first page. The infidelity clause is highlighted. He stopped, shoulders slumping. You've thought of everything, haven't you? Almost. I picked up my phone, showing them the screen. I'm just trying to decide which photo to use for my statement to the press. Your law firm's PR team is eager to get ahead of the story. They left without another word, their footsteps echoing through the empty restaurant. Jonah returned a few minutes later, sitting beside me. That was, he paused, searching for words. Justified? I suggested, finally allowing myself to smile. Because dessert isn't even the best part. There's more? I pulled out an envelope. The board meeting at his firm tomorrow morning, where these photos will be discussed in great detail. Turns out, sleeping with clients' wives is frowned upon in corporate law. The chocolate desserts remained untouched, melting into pools of dark regret. The morning sun streamed through my studio windows as I adjusted the lighting for my latest shoot. My phone buzzed, another news alert about Harlan's law firm. The headlines were getting creative. Top attorney's career melts faster than wedding cake. You're trending again, Alina announced, walking in with coffee. The video from the dinner has over 1 million views. Good. I checked the composition of my shot. How's Raylan doing with her new job search? Not great. Turns out most companies check social media these days. She handed me my coffee. Her parents made her move back home to Connecticut. The studio door opened, and Jonah walked in, carrying a familiar-looking dessert box. Special delivery from Le Bernardin. I laughed. The chocolate thing again. Actually, it's better. He opened the box, revealing an elegant cake. They want you to photograph their new dessert menu. Apparently, your dinner party story impressed the chef. Karma's got a sense of humor, Alina mused. My phone buzzed again. A text from Kate. Just drove past your old house. Moving trucks are there. He's really leaving. Speaking of karma, I showed them the message. The prenup worked exactly as planned. Did you ever think about just confronting them privately? Jonah asked, setting up his laptop. Instead of, destroying them publicly? I adjusted my camera settings. They chose to betray me publicly. Every dinner out, every hotel stay, every lie to our friends. That was their choice. I just made sure everyone saw the whole picture. Speaking of pictures, Alina pulled up a website on her tablet. Raylan's photography business is officially closed. Her clients all canceled after seeing the video. She should have stuck to Instagram filters, I murmured, focusing my lens. The studio door opened again. Marcus and Sophie from the restaurant. You'll never guess who just tried to make a dinner reservation. Marcus grinned. Harlan said he wanted to apologize. What did you tell him? That we're booked solid for the next century. Sophie set down a bag of pastries. Also, we're launching a new special. Called it The Sweet Revenge. It's selling out every night. My phone lit up with another message from Harlan's law firm. Ms. Wilcox, we'd like to discuss featuring your photography in our rebranding campaign. Our new focus is on integrity and transparency. Now that's ironic. Jonah laughed, reading over my shoulder. Should I take it? I asked, already knowing the answer. Absolutely, Alina said. Charge them triple your usual rate. The morning light caught the lens of my camera, casting prism patterns across the studio wall. Like evidence of betrayal, they formed a perfect timeline of shadows and light. You know what the best part is? I adjusted my tripod. I never raised my voice, never threw anything, never even cried. I just showed everyone who they really were. Through food, Sophie added. Which is honestly the most chef thing ever. Through truth, I corrected. The food was just the medium. My phone buzzed one final time. A notification that the divorce was officially filed. No contests, no delays, just Harlan's signature on every page, exactly where it needed to be. So what now? Jonah asked, helping me set up the next shot. Now, I smiled, focusing my lens on the Le Bernardin cake. Now I do what I've always done. Create beautiful things, tell stories through food, and never settle for mediocre love or lukewarm pasta. And the house? Alina asked. Selling it. Already have 3 offers. I checked the light meter. Turns out, people love a good scandal location. The studio filled with morning light and possibility. On my laptop, another email notification popped up. A major publishing house interested in my story. From food photography to private investigation, a recipe for revenge. You're not actually going to write it, are you? Marcus asked. I thought about all the messages I'd received from other women, thanking me for showing them how to reclaim their power without losing their dignity. Maybe. I adjusted the cake's position slightly. But first, I have a dessert menu to shoot. Sophie, can you move that chocolate curl about 2 millimeters to the left? Perfectionist, she teased, but did as asked. I looked through my viewfinder, focusing on the intricate details of the dessert. Like evidence, like truth, like revenge. Sometimes the smallest details made the biggest impact. Ready? I asked my assembled friends, each of whom had played their part in my elaborate dinner theater. They nodded, gathering around to watch me work. Through my lens, the dessert looked perfect, each element in its place, nothing hidden, everything exactly as it should be. I pressed the shutter, capturing the moment in perfect clarity. Like justice, like karma, like the truth, some things just needed the right light to be seen. Perfect shot, Jonah said, looking at the preview. It always was, I replied, already setting up the next one. You just had to know where to look.
I stood frozen in the hallway, my heart pounding as I overheard my brother's voice through the kitchen door. She's always been terrible with money. We can't let her waste this opportunity. This lottery win could set us all up for life. My name is Josephine, and I just won $12 million. Nobody was supposed to know yet, but somehow Gideon had found out. Probably through his connections at the bank where I'd deposited the check yesterday. She owes us, my mother Sierra chimed in, after everything we've done for her, all the sacrifices we made for her art school. I pressed my back against the wall, willing myself to keep breathing. The irony wasn't lost on me. They'd fought against my attending art school every step of the way. Gideon's business degree had been the priority, draining the college fund our grandparents had left for both of us. "We need to approach this carefully," my father Gerald said. "You know how sensitive she can be. Remember the tantrum she threw when we sold her paintings to pay for Gideon's startup?" My fingers curled into fists. Those paintings had been my first gallery collection. I'd come home to find my studio empty, a check on the table. "For your own good," the note had read. "Time to grow up." "I'll talk to her," Gideon said confidently. "She always listens to me." I almost laughed. The golden child, the chosen one, so certain of his power over his little sister. The same sister who'd spent years living in his shadow, watching him take and take while I was expected to give and give. My phone buzzed, a text from Anne. "Did you tell them yet?" "They found out," I typed back. "Plotting in the kitchen right now." 3 dots appeared immediately. "Remember the plan. Stay strong. You've got this." I straightened my spine and pushed open the kitchen door. The conversation died instantly. 3 pairs of eyes turned to me, faces arranged in careful smiles. "Joey!" Gideon stepped forward, arms open. "We were just talking about you." I heard. I moved past his attempted embrace to pour myself coffee. Interesting conversation. The silence was delicious. I turned to face them, leaning against the counter. Mother's fingers twisted her pearl necklace, her tell when she's nervous. Father suddenly found his newspaper fascinating. Only Gideon maintained eye contact, that familiar calculating look in his eyes. "Look, sis," he started, using his boardroom voice. "We should discuss this as a family. 12 million is a lot of responsibility. Like the responsibility you took with my gallery earnings." I sipped my coffee. "Or my college fund." "That's ancient history," Mother cut in. "We did what was best for the family. Gideon's business. Failed spectacularly," I finished. "Just like the 3 ventures after that. How much of my money went into those again?" Father slammed his paper down. "Now see here, young lady." "No, you see here." My voice was steady, surprising even me. "My lottery ticket, my money, my decision. And right now, my decision is to leave this conversation." Gideon stepped into my path as I moved toward the door. "Joey, be reasonable. We're family. We look out for each other." I met his eyes. "Funny how that only works one way." "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm done being the family ATM." I stepped around him. "And Gideon, if you ever access my private banking information again, I'll press charges, family or not." I walked out, leaving them sputtering behind me. My phone buzzed again, Anne sending a gif of a woman dropping a microphone. In my car, I finally let out the breath I'd been holding. The first confrontation was over, but the war was just beginning. They didn't know about the meeting I had scheduled with Scarlett Graham tomorrow, or the trust fund I was setting up. They had no idea that their precious family ATM was about to become something much more interesting. I started the engine, smiling as I remembered the look on Gideon's face when I mentioned pressing charges. For the first time in my life, I held all the cards, and I was going to play them exactly how I wanted. "Time to grow up," they'd told me years ago. Well, I had grown up, just not in the way they'd expected. I pulled out my phone and called Reagan. "Hey, cousin, still want to help me shake up the family tree?" Her laugh crackled through the speaker. "Honey, I've been waiting years for this. When do we start?" "Right now," I said, pulling out of the driveway. "Meet me at Anne's. We've got some planning to do." Anne's apartment was our sanctuary, the one place my family would never think to look for me. Reagan sprawled on the couch while Anne poured wine, her cat watching us from the windowsill. "So they actually tried to ambush you in the kitchen." Anne handed me a glass. "That's next level even for them." "You should have seen Gideon's face when I threatened legal action." I took a long sip. "Pretty sure that's the first time anyone's ever stood up to him," Reagan snorted. "About time. Remember when he convinced Uncle Gerald to invest my inheritance in that ridiculous crypto scheme?" "God, that was awful," I said. "Did he ever pay you back?" "Please, he said the market crash wasn't his fault and that family supports family through tough times." Reagan made air quotes with her fingers. "Meanwhile, he bought that Tesla the next month." My phone buzzed. Another text from Mother. "Family dinner tonight. Non-negotiable. Your father insists. They're not wasting any time. I showed the others the message. Anne sat forward. You're not going, right? Oh, I'm going. I smiled. They want to talk about family obligations. Let's talk. I'm coming with you, Reagan declared. They can't gang up on you if there's backup. The dinner table that evening felt like a battlefield. Mother had prepared Gideon's favourites, as usual. Father sat at the head, trying to look stern but mostly managing constipated. Gideon arrived last, briefcase in hand like this was a business meeting. Nice of you to grace us with your presence, sis, he said, sliding into his seat. And Reagan! What a surprise. Wouldn't miss it, Reagan smiled sweetly. Family supports family, right? Mother's fork clattered against her plate. Well, since we're all here, we should discuss the elephant in the room. You mean Gideon accessing my private banking information? I took a bite of potatoes. Yes, let's discuss that. That's not, Father started, but Gideon cut him off. I was concerned, Joey. You've never handled large sums well? Like the 10,000 you borrowed for your foolproof startup, Reagan interjected. How did that work out again? This is different, Mother snapped. Josephine, your brother has experience in financial management. He could help. Help himself to my money? I put down my fork. Like he helped himself to my college fund? My art earnings? Gideon opened his briefcase, pulling out papers. I've drawn up a proposal for family investment opportunities. No. The word cut through the room like a knife. What did you say? Father's face was turning red. I said no. I stood up slowly. No to your proposals, no to your guilt trips, no to your manipulation. My money, my choice. After everything we've done for you? Mother's voice cracked. We raised you to be Gideon's personal piggy bank? Reagan stood beside me. To sacrifice everything while he risks nothing. Gideon slammed his hands on the table. You ungrateful little... Careful, brother dear. I pulled out my phone. I recorded our entire conversation in the kitchen this morning, including your admission about accessing my account. Would the bank board appreciate hearing that? The colour drained from his face. Father started to speak, but I held up my hand. I'm done. You want to know my plans for the money? Come to the family reunion next month. I'll announce everything then. This isn't over, Gideon growled. Oh, it is. I headed for the door, Reagan right behind me. And Gideon? Those investment proposals? They'd make great kindling. In the car, Reagan burst out laughing. Did you see their faces? Priceless. I wasn't bluffing about the recording. I pulled it up on my phone. Anne's idea. Said we might need insurance. Smart girl, Reagan squeezed my shoulder. You know they'll make the reunion hell, right? Let them try. I started the engine. They have no idea what's coming. My phone lit up with a message from Scarlett. Trust fund paperwork ready for review tomorrow. This is going to change lives. Yes, I whispered, thinking of all the aspiring artists who'd benefit from what I was about to do. It really is. Reagan peered at my expression. That's your plotting face. What are you planning? Justice, I said, pulling away from my parents' house, but not the kind they're expecting. Behind us, I could see Gideon watching from the window, his silhouette rigid with anger. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel small under his gaze. The power had shifted, and he knew it. The war was far from over, but tonight's battle, that was definitely mine. Scarlett's office felt like a fortress of glass and steel, 30 floors above the city. She spread the trust fund documents across her desk while Reagan paced behind my chair. So, to be clear, Scarlett adjusted her glasses, you want to establish a foundation supporting female artists who've faced financial barriers to their education. Poetic, isn't it? Reagan stopped pacing. Using the money they tried to take to help others, they would have dismissed. The annual grants will cover tuition, supplies, and living expenses, I explained. Plus mentorship opportunities through established galleries. Scarlett smiled. Like the opportunities you were denied. A memory flashed. Standing in my empty studio, tears streaming down my face as Mother explained how they'd sold everything to fund Gideon's latest venture. It's for the best, dear. Art won't pay the bills. My phone buzzed. Gideon again. Third call today. He's getting desperate, Reagan noted. Want to hear what he told me this morning? Do I? He suggested I talk some sense into you. Said there might be a finder's fee if I could convince you to invest in his new tech startup. Scarlett raised an eyebrow. Your brother sounds charming. That's not even the worst, Reagan's phone chimed. Her face darkened as she read the message. Joey, we have a problem. She handed me her phone. It was a family group chat I wasn't part of. Gideon had sent a long message about his concerns for my mental health, suggesting my lottery win had made me unstable and paranoid. Classic gaslighting, Scarlett said, reading over my shoulder. He's trying to discredit you before you can announce your plans. It gets better, Reagan scrolled down. He's convinced Mom and Dad to stage an intervention at Sunday brunch. I laughed, but it came out hollow. Let me guess. They'll try to convince me to sign over control of the money for my own good. We need to move faster, Scarlett gathered the papers. I can have everything legally locked in by Friday. Once the trust is established, they can't touch it. My phone lit up with a text from Anne. SOS. Your mum just left my place. She was asking weird questions about your state of mind lately. Watch your back. They're building a case, Reagan said quietly, trying to prove you're not competent to manage the money. They won't succeed, Scarlett's voice was steel. We have documentation of your brother's financial misconduct, witness statements about the art studio incident, and proof of his unauthorized access to your accounts. But that's not enough, is it? I stood up, moving to the window. They'll keep coming until they get what they want. Unless, Reagan's eyes lit up, unless we give them exactly what they don't want. Publicity. What do you mean? The family reunion. Don't just announce the trust fund. Make it an event. Invite the local press, arts community leaders, potential grant recipients. Make it so public they can't possibly interfere without exposing themselves. Scarlett was already typing on her laptop. I have media contacts. We could frame it as a heartwarming story about giving back to the community. The press loves that angle. My phone buzzed again. Father this time. Your mother is very upset. This behavior needs to stop. Think about what you're doing to the family. The family? I showed them the message. They want to talk about family. Let's give them something to talk about. I'll start the press releases, Scarlett said. Reagan, can you compile a list of potential grant recipients? Real stories will make this more impactful. On it, Reagan paused. What about Sunday's ambush? Oh, I'll be there. I smiled, feeling stronger than I had in years. But they're in for a surprise. Anne's coming too, with her lawyer friend who specializes in financial abuse cases. They won't know what hit them, Reagan grinned. As we left Scarlett's office, another memory surfaced. Gideon at my first art show, smirking as he told my potential buyers that my work was just a hobby. The way he'd smiled when they walked away. But this time, the memory didn't hurt. This time, it fueled me. Ready for Sunday? Reagan asked as we reached our cars. More than ready. I checked my phone. 7 missed calls from Gideon now. Time to show them what their unstable sister can really do. They have no idea, Reagan laughed. No idea at all. We parted ways, but not before she hugged me tight. You're not alone this time, Joey, remember that. Driving home, I felt lighter somehow. They thought they could break me, discredit me, control me. But they'd forgotten something important. Sometimes the people you underestimate the most are the ones you should fear the most. Sunday couldn't come fast enough. Sunday brunch looked like a war council. Mother had arranged her finest china, as if expensive plates could soften what was coming. Anne sat beside me, her lawyer friend Maria, on my other side. Gideon's face soured when he saw them. This is a family matter, he said sharply. Then it's good I brought my chosen family. I smiled, pouring coffee. Shall we begin? Father cleared his throat. Josephine, we're worried about you. These past few weeks, your behavior... My behavior? I set down my cup. Let's talk about behaviors, like unauthorized banking access? Or selling someone's art without permission? That's exactly what we mean, Mother jumped in. You've become so hostile. ever since the lottery. I have documentation, Maria spoke up, opening her briefcase, of multiple instances of financial exploitation. Would you like to review them? Gideon's face reddened. Who do you think you are? Maria Rodriguez, financial abuse specialist. And you must be Gideon, the brother who accessed private banking records illegally. The room temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. We're trying to help you, Mother's voice quivered. You're not thinking clearly. Actually, Anne pulled out her phone. I've been recording Josephine's mental state for weeks. As her closest friend, I can testify she's never been more clear-headed. This is ridiculous, Gideon stood up. Joey, if you don't stop this nonsense... You'll what? I met his gaze. Sell my belongings again? Drain my accounts? Sorry, brother, but those days are over. Father slammed his hand on the table. Enough! We're your family. We know what's best. Like you knew what was best when you let Gideon take my college fund. I pulled out a folder. I have the bank statements, Dad. Every withdrawal, every transfer to his failed businesses. Those were investments in the family's future, Gideon protested. No, Maria interjected. Those were unauthorized appropriations of designated educational funds. Would you like to discuss the legal implications? Mother started crying, her favorite tactic when losing control. How can you do this to us after everything you've done for me? I laughed. Let's make a list. Shall we start with the art studio incident? Anne pulled up photos on her phone. I documented the empty studio that day. Current market value of the sold pieces would be around $100,000. You're twisting everything, Gideon snarled. This isn't you, Joey. You need help. The only thing I need, I stood up slowly, is for you all to listen carefully. The money is mine. It's already been legally allocated. And if you try to interfere, if you spread one more rumor about my mental state, these documents go public. You wouldn't dare, Father's face paled. Think of the family name. Think of your reputation, I countered. Local businessman exploits sister's art career, attempts financial manipulation after lottery win. Imagine those headlines. You're bluffing, Gideon said, but his voice wavered. Maria pulled out more papers. Would you like to see the press release drafts? We have 3 newspapers interested already. Mother's teacup clattered against its saucer. Josephine, please. The family reunion is in 2 weeks. I gathered my things. I'll announce my plans then. You're welcome to attend as long as you behave. And if we don't, Gideon challenged, then the press gets an even juicier story. I headed for the door, Anne and Maria flanking me. Your choice. Reagan was waiting in her car outside. How'd it go? Better than expected, Anne grinned. Maria was brilliant. They'll retaliate, I said, watching Gideon storm out to his car. This isn't over. My phone buzzed. A text from Scarlett. Trust fund paperwork filed. It's official. They can't touch it now. Let them try something, Maria said, showing me her business card. I've been wanting to take on a case like this. We watched Gideon peel out of the driveway, Father shouting after him from the porch. Mother stood in the window, still crying. 2 weeks, Reagan said. Think they'll show up at the reunion? Oh, they'll come, I replied. Their pride won't let them stay away. But for the first time, they'll have to play by my rules. Anne squeezed my hand. Ready for the next round? I thought about the trust fund, already processing its first grant applications. About the young artists who would get the chances I never had. About Gideon's face when he realized he'd lost control. More than ready, I said. The real show's about to begin. As we drove away, I caught a last glimpse of my childhood home in the rearview mirror. It looked smaller somehow, less intimidating, just like the people inside it. The war wasn't over, but today's victory? That was just the beginning. The week before the reunion, Mother showed up at my apartment unannounced. She looked smaller somehow, clutching her designer handbag like a shield. Can I come in? Her voice trembled. Please, Joey, just to talk. I left her standing in my living room while I made coffee. Through the kitchen doorway, I watched her examine my newest paintings, scenes of broken piggy banks and empty frames. These are different, she said carefully. They're selling well. I handed her a mug. My gallery show next month is already sold out. A show? She blinked. You never told us. Would you have come? Her silence was answer enough. Joey, I found your old sketchbook yesterday. She pulled it from her bag. My childhood drawings, pages worn and yellowed. Do you remember how you used to draw us all as superheroes? I remember Gideon ripping out the pages he didn't like. We didn't mean... She started, then stopped. We thought we were doing what was best. Best for who, Mom? Before she could answer, my phone buzzed. A message from Scarlett. First grant recipient selected. 19-year-old artist. Parents sold her equipment to pay for brother's college. Sound familiar? Is that about the trust fund? Mother tried to peek at my screen. Gideon says you're wasting the money on strangers instead of family. Of course he does. I put my phone away. Tell me something, Mom. Why did you really come here? She set down her untouched coffee. Your father is worried about the reunion. About what you might say. The truth, you mean? There are things you don't understand, she pleaded. Your brother, he's under so much pressure. And I wasn't. I walked to my paintings. When you sold my first collection? When you told me art was a waste of time? When you watched Gideon take everything I'd worked for? He's your brother. And I'm your daughter. The words exploded out of me. Did you ever think about that? Did you ever once put me first? The doorbell rang. Anne, right on schedule. We'd planned this, knowing Mother would try one last manipulation. Mrs. Collins. Anne nodded coolly as she entered. Perfect timing. Joey, the reporter, is ready for your interview about the trust fund. Mother's face went pale. Reporter? For the arts section, I said. They're very interested in how family experiences shaped my decision to help other artists. You can't, she stood up. Joey, please, think about what this will do to us. Like you thought about what selling my art would do to me. That was different. We needed the money for Gideon, Anne finished. It's always been for Gideon, hasn't it? Mother grabbed my arm. He's your brother. Family stands together. I gently removed her hand. No, Mom. Family stands up for each other. There's a difference. The reporter's waiting, Anne reminded me. You can't do this interview, Mother's voice cracked. I forbid it. I laughed. Actually laughed. I'm not that little girl anymore, Mom. You can't forbid me from anything. Then you leave us no choice. She straightened her spine. Your father has already spoken to his lawyers. If you persist with this publicity stunt, let me stop you there. I pulled out my phone, showing her the recording app. Want to finish that threat on record? She stared at the phone, then at me, like she was seeing me for the first time. What happened to my sweet little girl? She grew up, Anne answered. No thanks to you. Mother fled, leaving her expensive handbag behind. Through my window, I watched her hurry to her car, dabbing at her eyes with a silk handkerchief. You okay? Anne squeezed my shoulder. Better than okay. I picked up the forgotten sketchbook. I'd forgotten about these drawings. Superhero family, huh? She flipped through the pages. Guess you were the only real hero in the end. My phone buzzed again, Reagan this time. Gideon's making calls, trying to get family members to boycott the reunion. Let him try, I texted back. More room for the press. Anne closed the sketchbook. Ready for your interview? I looked at my paintings. Broken piggy banks and empty frames, now symbols of liberation rather than loss. Actually, I want to show the reporter these first. Time to tell the whole story. They won't like that. They haven't liked anything I've done since I stopped being their ATM. I grabbed my keys. Might as well give them something real to complain about. As we left, I glanced at Mother's abandoned handbag. Inside, the old sketchbook waited, a reminder of the girl I'd been and the woman I'd become. Sometimes the best revenge isn't fighting back. Sometimes it's simply becoming who you were meant to be all along. The day before the reunion, Gideon cornered me at my favourite coffee shop. He slid into the seat across from me, that familiar shark-like smile in place. We need to talk, little sister. No, we really don't. I kept scrolling through the grant applications on my tablet. Look at you playing businesswoman. He leaned forward. But we both know you're in over your head. Let me help. Like you helped with my college fund. Ancient history. He waved his hand dismissively. I've got a real opportunity here. Tech startup, guaranteed returns. The answer is no. His smile tightened. I wasn't asking. Are you threatening me? I raised my phone. Should I record this conversation too? Before he could respond, Scarlett walked in. We'd planned this meeting knowing Gideon would try something. Josephine. Perfect timing. She sat down, spreading papers across the table. The press releases are ready, and the first grant recipient wants to share her story at tomorrow's announcement. Gideon's face darkened. What press release? Oh, didn't Joey tell you? Scarlett smiled professionally. We're announcing the trust fund at the reunion. 3 major newspapers, local TV, arts community leaders, quite the event. You can't. Actually, she can. Scarlett pulled out more documents. Everything's legally binding. Would you like to see the paperwork? My phone buzzed. Reagan. Heads up. Your dad's trying to get the venue to cancel tomorrow's reservation. Already handled, I texted back. Venue owner's daughter is one of our first grant recipients. Gideon was still talking, his voice rising. This is family business. You have no right. I have every right, I cut him off. And tomorrow, everyone will know exactly what kind of family business you've been running. Is that a threat? No, it's a promise. I gathered my things. See you tomorrow, brother dear. Try not to have any more guaranteed business failures before then. He grabbed my arm as I stood. You're making a big mistake. The only mistake, Scarlett said sharply, would be leaving marks before your sister's TV interview tomorrow. He released me like I'd burned him. As we walked out, I could feel his glare burning holes in my back. Outside, my phone rang. Anne. Your mum's here at my place, crying about family loyalty and tradition. Let me guess. She wants you to talk me out of tomorrow? Bingo. She brought photo albums, Joey. Photo albums. I laughed despite myself. Stay strong. Only 24 hours to go. Scarlett touched my arm. Speaking of which, we should review your speech one more time. At her office, Reagan was waiting with coffee and determination. Gideon's been calling everyone in the family, trying to paint you as unstable again. Show them this. Scarlett handed me the morning paper. There, in the arts section, was my interview. The headline read, Lottery winner turns personal pain into community gain. He's going to lose it when he sees this, Reagan grinned. My phone lit up with a text from father. This ends now. Come home immediately. Still giving orders, I showed them the message. Still expecting obedience. Not this time, Scarlett said firmly. Everything's ready for tomorrow. Security's arranged, press is confirmed, and the grant recipients are prepared to share their stories. Another text buzzed through, an unknown number. This is Maria. Your brother just called my office trying to get information about our meetings. Don't worry, client confidentiality is sacred. He's desperate, Reagan noted. They all are. Good. I stood by the window, watching the city below. Let them feel what I felt all those years. Scarlett's printer hummed, spitting out tomorrow's program. The trust fund's name stood out in bold letters. The Phoenix Foundation, rising from the ashes of art suppression. Perfect timing, Reagan picked up the program. Nothing like a little symbolism to drive the point home. My phone buzzed one final time. Gideon again. Last chance, Joey. Don't make me do something we'll both regret. Save that one, Scarlett advised. Threats make excellent press fodder. Outside, the sun was setting on the last day of my family's control over my life. Tomorrow would bring either reconciliation or complete severance. Either way, I'd be free. Ready for tomorrow? Reagan asked softly. I thought about Mother with her photo albums, Father with his orders, and Gideon with his threats. Then, I thought about the young artists who would benefit from the trust fund, who would never have to feel what I felt. More than ready, I replied. Time to show them what rising from the ashes really looks like. The war was almost over. Tomorrow would decide the victor once and for all. The family reunion venue buzzed with tension. Camera crews set up in the corners while reporters mingled with guests. Gideon stood with our parents near the entrance, his face stormy as he watched more press arrive. Ready? Anne squeezed my hand. Born ready. I adjusted my microphone. Scarlett had insisted on professional sound for the announcement. The first grant recipient, Sarah, approached me nervously. Are you sure about this? Your brother looks angry. Let him be angry. I smiled at the young artist. Today isn't about him, Reagan rushed over. Heads up, Gideon's trying to convince the cameramen to pack up, offering them money to leave. Too late for that, Scarlett appeared, tablet in hand. We're live streaming too. 3,000 viewers already waiting. Mother intercepted me as I walked toward the podium. Please, Joey, think about what you're doing to this family. I am thinking about family, Mom, just not the way you want me to. If you do this, she grabbed my arm. You'll what? I kept my voice steady. Sell my art, take my money, control my life. Those days are over. Father appeared behind her. Young lady, you will not. Actually, I will. I gestured to the reporters, and everyone's about to hear exactly why. The microphone crackled as I took the stage. Faces turned toward me. Family members, press, art community leaders. Gideon stood at the back, phone to his ear, probably trying one last desperate move to stop this. Thank you all for coming, I began. Today isn't just about announcing a trust fund. It's about breaking cycles of control and creating new opportunities. Camera flashes popped as I continued. The Phoenix Foundation will provide grants to artists whose families have suppressed their dreams. Artists like Sarah, who's here today to share her story. Sarah stepped forward, her voice shaking but strong. My parents sold my equipment to pay for my brother's business degree. They said art wouldn't pay the bills. Enough! Gideon stormed toward the stage. This is ridiculous. Is it? I held up my old sketchbook. As ridiculous as selling your sister's entire art collection without permission, as ridiculous as taking her college fund for your failed startups, the crowd murmured. Reporters' pens scratched frantically. You're twisting everything, he snarled. I did what was best for who? Reagan stood up. For Joey? Or for yourself? Mother started crying, right on cue. Please stop this. No, Mom. For once, you're going to listen. I opened the sketchbook. See these drawings? The ones Gideon ripped out? Each one represents a dream you tried to kill. But here's the thing about dreams. Sometimes they rise from the ashes stronger than ever. Sarah joined me on stage, along with 2 other grant recipients. The Phoenix Foundation isn't just about money, she announced. It's about recognition, support, and breaking free from those who try to clip our wings. This is your last warning, Gideon threatened, but his voice cracked. No, I met his eyes. This is yours. The foundation launches today. The first round of grants has already been awarded. And your control over my life? That ends right now. Cameras swiveled to capture Gideon's face as he truly realized, that he'd lost. But family, Mother whispered. Yes, Mom. Family. I gestured to Anne, Reagan, and Scarlett. The family that supports you, believes in you, helps you rise instead of holding you down, that's the family I choose. The applause started slowly, then built to a roar. Sarah hugged me, tears streaming down her face. Reporters surged forward with questions. Through it all, I watched my blood family retreat toward the door. Father's shoulders slumped, Mother dabbing her eyes, and Gideon, for the first time in his life, looking small. Miss Collins, a reporter called out. What inspired the foundation's name? I looked at my paintings displayed around the room, broken piggy banks transformed into soaring phoenixes. Sometimes, I said, you have to burn everything down to build something better. The live stream counter hit 10,000 viewers as I announced the full details of the grants. Each recipient shared their story, each one echoing my own journey from suppression to freedom. After the cameras stopped rolling, Anne hugged me tight. You did it. We did it, I corrected, watching Sarah excitedly discuss her art with a gallery owner. Reagan appeared with her phone. Twitter's blowing up. Your story's trending. Good. Scarlett smiled. The more attention, the more artists we can help. Through the window, I saw my blood family getting into their cars. They looked defeated, diminished. But for the first time, seeing them walk away didn't hurt. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying your oppressors. Sometimes it's about creating something so beautiful from the ashes of their control that they're forced to watch you soar. And soar I would. The gallery buzzed with excitement as Sarah unveiled her first major collection. Through the crowd, I spotted a familiar figure lingering near the entrance, Mother clutching her purse like always. Want me to ask her to leave? Anne appeared at my side. No? I watched Mother drift toward one of Sarah's paintings. Let her see what she tried to prevent. The piece Mother studied was striking, a young girl releasing butterflies from a shattered cage. The plaque beneath it read, First Grant Recipient, Phoenix Foundation. It's beautiful, Mother whispered as I approached. Like your early work. The work you sold? She flinched. Joey, save it. I nodded towards Sarah, who was beaming as she spoke with art critics. Watch her instead. Watch what happens when someone believes in an artist. Gideon filed for bankruptcy, she said suddenly. His last venture? It didn't work out. I know. Reagan told me he tried to contact the foundation for a grant. And we don't fund failed tech startups. Mother's laugh surprised us both, short but genuine. You've changed. No, Mom. I've become who I always was. You just never saw me. Scarlett waved from across the room, gesturing to the reporters gathering for Sarah's interview. The Phoenix Foundation had funded 10 artists now, each success story building our reputation. Your father misses you, Mother tried again. Does he miss me? Or the money he thought I'd give him? Before she could answer, Sarah bounded over. Joey, the Times critic wants... Oh. She stopped short, recognizing Mother from the reunion photos. Sarah, this is my mother. Mom, meet our first success story. Sarah straightened her spine. Your daughter changed my life, Mrs. Collins. She showed me that family isn't about control, it's about lifting each other up. Mother's eyes glistened. She always was stubborn about helping others. No, I corrected. I was stubborn about surviving you and Gideon. Helping others? That's just basic humanity. Reagan appeared with her tablet. Sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this. She showed us a social media post from Gideon. Family is about forgiveness, ready to admit my mistakes. A Phoenix Foundation? Can we talk? Interesting timing, Anne noted, joining us. Right when his last startup tanks. He means it, Mother insisted. He's changed. Like he changed after the college fund? Or after selling my art? I handed the tablet back to Reagan. Actions speak louder than tweets. The gallery director called for attention. Time for Sarah's speech. As the crowd gathered, Mother caught my arm. What do you want from us, Joey? What will it take? I watched Sarah take the podium, confident and radiant. Nothing, Mom. I don't want anything from you anymore. That's the whole point. But we're family. Yes, you are. I gestured around the gallery. And this is my legacy. Not Gideon's failed ventures or your controlling love. This, art, surviving, thriving, breaking free. Sarah's voice filled the space. The Phoenix Foundation taught me that our art isn't just a hobby. Our dreams aren't negotiable. Our voices matter. Mother dabbed her eyes. You really don't need us anymore, do you? I never needed you to control me. I needed you to believe in me. There's a difference. The crowd applauded as Sarah finished. She'd sold every piece in her collection, a success by any measure. As photographers captured the moment, I saw Mother slip quietly toward the exit. Mom, I called after her. She turned. Tell Gideon that the foundation runs workshops on financial responsibility. He might learn something. A ghost of a smile crossed her face. You really are extraordinary, Joey. I'm sorry I never saw it before. After she left, Anne hugged me. You okay? Better than okay. I watched Sarah sign her first major sale. This is what winning feels like. Reagan checked her phone. Gideon deleted his tweet. Of course he did. I smiled. Some people never change. But some people do. Scarlett joined us, champagne in hand. The foundation just received 3 new corporate sponsorships after Sarah's story broke. Around us, the gallery hummed with possibility. Artists and critics mingled, dreams took flight, and somewhere in the city, my family was finally facing the truth. They hadn't broken me. They'd forged me. To the Phoenix Foundation, Anne raised her glass. No, I corrected, watching Sarah hug her parents who'd learned to believe in her, to rising from the ashes, all of us together. The evening light painted shadows like wings on the gallery walls. Outside, Mother's car pulled away, carrying the last remnants of my old life with it. But inside was all future, all possibility, all freedom. Sometimes the best endings aren't about forgiveness or reconciliation. Sometimes they're about standing in your truth and letting others figure out how to deal with it. I'd finally learned to soar. Whether my family chose to watch or look away, that was their journey now, not mine.